All right, let's give a test. A testing. 1, 2, 3.
Mine is recording as well, by the way.
Say bitch.
No, I won't. But
Hello, and welcome down to the abyssal lair of the Radiophonic Sea Creatures. Snap your fingers and make 80% of the world's male population disappear, and then sadly realise that you still can't get laid, because I, Tokyo Choo Choo, am going to be your host today. And with me as always is a man who sees pussy every day, every time he looks in the mirror. It's Brack. How you doing today, Brack?
I'm doing well. They know what you say, what they say. You are what you eat. So that's why I see pussy in the mirror every day.
You see pussy in the mirror because you are a pussy, Brack.
No, because you are what you eat. But yeah, I'm doing well. I've been playing a lot of video games, watching a lot of movies. I've seen Infinity War twice already.
Wow.
Because in case one of them disappears, like 50% of the movies I've watched disappears, and I've seen it twice, so that's cool. Yeah, that's about it. You know what I've been playing? I've been playing Assassin's Creed Origins. I think you're excited to play this, right? Have you played it already?
No, I haven't. I haven't played it. Yes, I am excited to play it, but not for a while.
It will also take a while to play because that game is huge. Like, I've played some other open world game after it, which you might discuss later a little bit, but that game looks like tiny compared to how huge Assassin's Creed Origins is. But I've been enjoying playing it. It might be a little bit too much at some points because it's like I said, the world is just so big, and like there's no way that you will complete everything. I think that's the point. Like, if you're one of those people that like is a completionist and that wants to finish everything, they will just not have a good time because you will just get bored after a while. You just have to pick what you finish and which side stuff you don't. So that's at least how I'm going through it. I've already finished the campaign, which was kind of weird, but it was still pretty fun. It's, Assassin's Creed doesn't have the best stories, and this one doesn't change that, but it's still an okay story. But like the world building is just amazing. Like the world that they created is just gorgeous. It's like it feels like you're like entirety of Egypt, and you have like small towns and small settlements, and there's like side missions everywhere. And like the side missions this time around actually have like story modes and everything. They have like stories. Like, it's not like the last few Assassin's Creed games where it's like, go to this area and kill like 20 people and like and then you control the area now. It's not like that anymore. And combat is improved a lot. It's like it changed a lot, where I think it's supposed to be playing a little bit more like the Dark Souls, Demon Souls type games. I'm not sure, because you're like attacking with the shoulder buttons instead of like the square triangle type deal. But yeah, it's a great game. It looks gorgeous. Like, when you're in that game and you're going through like the desert, you're like, oh my god, this looks amazing. And I like need to make a few screenshots while I'm playing because it just looks that good.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's great. So yeah, I recommend it, but take your sweetest time with it. Like, don't rush that game because you will just get tired of it because there's just so much.
Yeah, I can totally imagine that. I've wanted to play that game ever since it was announced, but it's just recently I only have like so much video game time, so I've really had to pick and choose what I want to play. Obviously, Assassin's Creed Origin is certainly on my list above many other video games, and like you say, it's supposed to be huge, right? I heard like it was pretty much almost like analogous to the actual size of Egypt, is what I heard. It's quite close to actually being, like almost pretty much bang on.
I'm not sure if that's true. I doubt it though, because like I said, that Egypt is even more huge. That would take days to go from one side of the map to the other side, right? If it was like the same size,
I mean,
like it would really take actual days. and I doubt. I think if this game, it probably takes like 6 hours or some shit if you would walk from one side to the other on a horse. So it's still like I said, huge as hell, but it's not that huge.
Okay, well, I guess in a way that's disappointing and also probably good. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. But in the when you're actually out there in the wilderness, is there anything to do out in the stretches where it's just like nothing?
Yeah, there is stuff to do in there. Like I said, a lot. There's few maps. There's like side missions everywhere. There's hunting stuff. There are still settlements that you can just take over. You know, where you just like kill the people in the settlement to get loot. This game is like they don't call it an RPG. This game is like definitely like an RPG. You even level up. Like you start level 1 and you go higher level and you like new skills and stuff with that. And you can like buy and get weapons that you can't use yet because you're not a high enough level. It's literally an RPG, even though they don't want to call themselves an RPG, I guess. But still.
Well, it sounds like a really awesome game. In your ranking of the Assassin's Creed games, where do you rank it? Do you think it's the best Assassin's Creed game, or how do you feel about that?
Like with video games, sometimes, especially with Assassin's Creed games, you have to deal with like some games age a lot because the series has been going on for a long time already.
Yeah.
And I think I would definitely put it up in the top 3 at the moment, but not taking into account which game was better for its time. You know what I mean? Like I think like Assassin's Creed 2 was probably more impressive for its time than Assassin's Creed Origins is for right now. But I still think Assassin's Creed Origins is a much better game. Same with like Syndicate, which is one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games. But I don't think it's that unique for its time, for the time when it's released, compared to like the older games for its time. Because this series has evolved, but it has evolved like hugely. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can understand that. I love the Syndicate though.
Well, yeah, like I said, I think like that game was at that point one of the best games in that franchise, but because it's been so long and the time it's released, and there's like so many before it, it feels less special. And it could be the same with Origins because there's still like stuff that you've been doing for like 8 games now. You know what I mean? And it's not less special than it was the first time. But with that said, Origins is definitely beautiful looking. It's the biggest like evolvement that the franchise has gone through thus far, and yeah, it's pretty amazing. So I would put it at number 1 right now.
Oh, okay. So that's better. Officially, you heard it here. Assassin's Creed Origins is the best Assassin's Creed game of all time. You heard it from Brad.
You know what? I think most people would agree with me. You know what?
Maybe. So you did. I mean, just talking about the most recent game before that, you enjoyed it more than Syndicate, because Syndicate is definitely my favorite Assassin's Creed game thus far.
I think I enjoyed it more than Syndicate. Yeah.
Wow.
I just like the world better. I think this one actually has like combat that's okay. Like Syndicate has stealth that's okay, but the combat itself isn't good. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think this time the combat is a lot better, and the stealth is still equally as good as it was before.
Alright, nice stuff. That's definitely going to be on my list at some point to play. Talking about one that has like a game that has okay combat to a film that has okay combat. Let's talk about Highlander. Well, there's a segue, because I saw the movie Highlander again recently for the first time since I was, I don't know, like in my late teens or whatever. And wow, that was quite something to behold, the Highlander film. So a Highlander is a really weird film. It's one of those films that truly, like, it is one of those defining films, the definition of a film, sorry, that is so bad it's good. You know, you start watching it and it's got all those like flashy cuts and stuff, and like the acting is fucking terrible. I mean, it's awful in places. It's really terrible. Like, it has really awful acting, a ludicrous plot, like, and these flashy, over the top, like extreme showmanship 80s style camera angles, that look like they're straight out of like a cheesy pop video. And it's you're watching it, and at first it's just like, oh my god, this film is so bad. This film is so bad. It's laughably bad. And then gradually through the film, you realise that yes, it's terrible, but you're having an insane amount of fun watching it. Like, it's excellent. And then when you realise that, the penny switches, and then instead of being, oh, this is so bad, it's like, man, this is awesome. This is like pure thoroughbred 80s cheese to the max, dialed to 11, Spinal Tap style. Ah, it's great. I loved it. After swearing through at least half the movie that it was one of the worst films I've ever seen, and it was hilariously bad, I came out of the movie thinking, God damn, that was just awesome. So many classic lines, like, I don't know, it was absolutely fantastic. For example, to show you how bad and awesome the film is, Sean Connery speaks in his usual thick Scottish accent. It's me, Sean Connery, but he's playing an effete Spanish nobleman whose name is Ramirez. It just makes no sense. Yet somehow it's all the more awesome for it. The fact that Sean Connery doesn't give a fuck. Yeah, and the Kurgan who plays the main bad guy, who's mostly remembered for being that guy in Dumb and Dumber, who's stuck in between like Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey while they're making the most annoying sound on earth. Guys, please! He's the main bad guy in Highlander. He's fucking awesome. And he gets that, that legendary movie quote, it's better to burn out than to fade away. Like, he just eats the scenery every time he's on the screen. It's just so much fun. And I really enjoyed that movie and would like to see it again. And I think definitely its cult status is justified. And if you truly want to see a movie that is so fantastic, so bad, that it's so cheesy and terrible that it's just fantastic, that is the number one go-to movie for me that I've ever seen in my life, I think. Have you seen Highlander, Brack?
Nope.
Man, you should definitely check that out. It's awesome and terrible.
Yeah, I know about it being terrible and awesome at the same time. I heard the soundtrack is great.
Oh yeah,
it's Queen, right? Queen doing the soundtrack, or
the soundtrack is killer. I mean, nobody argues that. I think that's partially what happens when you got all these cheesy, like these slow-mo 80s cuts, but you have this badass, like, thumping soundtrack. It kind of makes it awesome. But I used to have that soundtrack. No, not the soundtrack. I used to have the album, It's a Kind of Magic, when I was a kid. But I think I bought that record because of Highlander. But yeah, so there you go. If you're after something really, like, proper 80s cheese, Highlander, definitely float your boat. And if you haven't seen it for many years, go back and watch it. It's awesome. It's one of those films I truly believe that you just can't help but enjoy on some level when you're watching it. All right, Brack, what's next up on your list?
I think a movie that's probably much worse than Highlander, and it's a recent movie from the director of Fast and the Furious. And it's not even like the good Fast and the Furious movie. It's like the first one and some others, like Hurricane.
Wait.
The first one is great.
Yeah.
The first one is great, but it's still kind of corny and cheesy. They say from the director of Fast and Furious, but they're not saying it's from the director of The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon, or whatever they call it. Fuck. Like from the director of XXX and Stealth. That's what they're not saying. Like they say, only good movie is the Fast and the Furious.
Wait,
so
hold your horses there. Stealth ain't that bad. Stealth is pretty decent.
No, Stealth is horrible.
I have the DVD of Stealth for some reason.
I'm like while we're talking, I'm just looking at it's directing list on IMDb, and I'm seriously considering if like this movie I'm talking about right now, the Hurricane Heist, is his second best movie. It's terrible.
Stealth. I like Stealth. As I said, I own it for some bizarre reason. I own the DVD of Stealth, and I don't know why.
No, Stealth is terrible. But like this is terrible as well, by the way. But like Hurricane Heist, it's basically a heist movie set during like a hurricane. It's like it definitely does what it says in the package. But it's like a Die Hard ripoff, while at the same time also being the Day After Tomorrow ripoff, right? Where it's like, yeah, it's like a Die Hard ripoff, and at the same time you have like those like hurricane events going on. The movie starts like with this like super horrible flashback sequence where two brothers, they see their dad dying during a hurricane, right? And and that's the reason that one of the main two brothers studies like geology or something, and he becomes like a weather guy because he was inspired by that event where his dad died during a hurricane, and he wants to find a way to stop hurricanes from happening. That's like one of his motivations.
Yeah, stopping hurricanes from happening because that's possible.
I know. And it's like he like explains it in like in this really cheesy, corny way, but he wants. My dad died during a hurricane, and maybe we can find. That's why I studied. Maybe we can find a way to, at one point, stop them from happening. It's like, wait, what? Like the other person he's talking to is like, wait, are you? What the fuck are you talking about? No, he's just like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, because you can stop the wind from blowing. Yes.
But yeah, he's the main hero dude, and he has like this storm chaser type car as well. Like in one of the beginning scenes, he's like looking straight at the camera, and he's like, "They're underestimating you," and like you think he's talking to himself, but no, he's literally talking to the hurricane. And like even when he looks at the hurricane, he's like a phobia of hurricanes, right? So they visualize that by having the hurricanes like turn it like a ghost face. There's like some kind of like hurricane face going on because he's scared of the hurricanes. So yeah, that's the main hero, and like every time there's text on screen, I love this part because like sometimes like when you're having a movie, it's like, oh, this is New York, February or some shit like that, right?
Yeah.
They do that on the screen. They have like text, and this happens in this movie a lot. But every time the text goes away, it looks like it's like being blown away by a hurricane. Like text effect, like a Windows movie make a text effect by the text being blown away. But yeah, this movie's corny as hell, really corny, really shitty, but hilarious. I loved it. It's really fun to watch because how bad it is. It's filled. You said you were talking about Highlander and like Sean Connery's accent. This movie is filled with like British people and Australian people doing like super redneck accents, like insanely over the top accents. Like the main dude is British. The guy who's playing his brother is like he's like an Australian dude, and there's like some other like the bad guy. I think the bad guy actually is Irish and he does an Irish accent, but the other bad guy who is like also British and he's like even more southern accent. It's like insane. But yeah, the accents are hilarious. The movie is super bad and like horribly bad. Even the action is like insane. There's like some really dumb as hell action sequences in there, but in general I had a really good time, and I was like drinking throughout the entire movie. Like I sneaked in like I don't know like 4 beers with me when I went to see the movie. I went to see the theaters and I drank like throughout the movie. I was like just drinking and like the movie got better as it went along, but that could have been like the alcohol speaking.
Yeah, well, sometimes, like Highlander, some films are so bad that they transcend being bad and they become good. I mean, Gods of Egypt tried it and kind of fucked it up. Didn't quite get there, but you can sort of appreciate the effort of what they were going for in Gods of Egypt.
Yeah, I think this movie is less insane as Gods of Egypt, but it's more fun to watch, and it's like they definitely are playing it straight. Like they don't know that this movie is like bad in a fun way. They're like not playing onto it. They're trying to make a serious like action movie. They're trying to make like XXS or something like a Fast and the Furious 1. Like well, they're trying to take it seriously, but it just becomes like Triple X. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking about. They're trying to make that, and they don't know that it's like hilariously in like an ironic way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Even what I found hilarious was that the main guy of the main rider is like his last name is like Windhauser, and he has like wind in the title, and like 2 of his movies he's written are about tsunamis and hurricanes. Like all his movies are about tsunamis and hurricanes, and he has wind in the title in his name as well. So that's pretty hilarious to me as well. But the movie is bad, but it's a good time.
All right. Coming on to, I guess, what would be my next pick, I'm going to talk about something that's good and is, generally speaking, pretty good. That would be Gotham. So I finally got to see the third season of Gotham. I'm not quite finished with it. I'm about 2 episodes away from finishing Gotham season 3, and yeah, it's great. I love Gotham. Um, so as usual, the highlights of the season, as always, are Penguin and Riddler, who sort of at the beginning of the season kind of get jammed together, um, as friends, I guess, at the beginning of the season. And I try not to give many spoilers, but yeah, their relationship doesn't always isn't always as fruitful as it is at the beginning of the season. But just to see those two bad guys interplaying with each other, and specifically the kind of arc of the Riddler in season 3, where he properly fully becomes the Riddler and actually makes his persona and stuff and decides he's going to be called the Riddler. Like, his arc is just really, really good fun. And those two, whether they're together as friends and spoiler alert, no, not really a spoiler alert, or falling in love with each other in a gay subplot, or like being enemies, like they're just it's so fantastic to see them together. Every time they're on screen, the screen just lights up. It's hilarious to see their comings and goings. They have really good chemistry. But yeah, in general, the whole season is pretty great. That season really likes to throw surprises at you. You think it's going to go one way, and then it snakes and twists and goes in a completely different direction. Characters that are introduced, you think, oh yeah, okay, so this is going to be, a major character here, and they sometimes they might die, or other characters you don't expect to die suddenly. It's got not a Game of Thrones-esque element to it, but not quite that much. But like, it's like the writers are going full throttle. They're throwing everything at the wall. You know what I mean? And it's really the unpredictability of the show is what makes it really, really fun. Yeah. Other things to point out, like a thing I noticed about this season of Gotham, and in fact other seasons, is that you have Gotham City, which is a really sort of unsafe place full of murderers and thieves and, all kinds of monsters and bad guys, especially after the events of the second season. And then, so you'd imagine that the police station would be the safest place in the city, right? No, because this happened in season 2 a lot too. The police station in season 3 and season 2 keeps getting attacked. Like, invaded. Like, the police will just be walking about doing their business, and then in strolls a bad guy and kills all the police officers in there. This happens at least 3 times. I was trying to count how many times it happened in season 3. It happens 3 times, pretty much a 4th time too. Like, the police just like going about their business, and then just a bad guy just comes in and literally kills all the police officers. And the next day, like, all the police officers are back. Then 3 episodes later, another bad guy comes in and kills all the police officers. Again, it's like, if I was one of those police officers, if anybody came through the doors, I don't care who it was, I just immediately go for my gun.
Yes. Or like, maybe like, I don't know, put like security guards in front of the door or something.
Yeah, that's it.
Like,
at least get some fucking security cameras up and someone to check them.
Yeah. But I'm guessing, like, those bad guys, they also look like bad guys in Gotham. Like, they're not like, oh, this looked like an old lady, so we don't have to worry. It's like they look like gangster types with like, and they have that like, and they're probably not even using like handguns or something. They probably have like a huge ass gun with them as well. It's like, you can see that's the bad guy from like out of the window. Like, you don't even have to wait till he's inside.
That's exactly it. I think at one point, literally the Riddler strolls in there with a person with a bomb strapped to them with a gun to their head, just walks in through the front doors. It's like, do you not have cameras?
But like, I can explain this, right? Because the first time he like that happened, he killed the person killed all the experienced officers, so everybody's left is a rookie.
Yes, I think that is. Oh, except in one episode, like, one of the characters kills a whole bunch of police rookies as well. Like, seriously, at a seminar for police rookies, one of the characters kills a whole bunch of rookie cops.
Oh, man.
So they're not even rookies; they're just people they roped off the street. So
I feel bad for like the cops in like Metropolis, the cop that like used to work in Metropolis and they had like was forced out and had to move to to this place. It's like oh man, you're gonna you start your new job in Gotham in like next week. And I was like, oh man, shit. There goes your life expectancy.
And then his first day on the job, some fucking maniac with a fucking axe for an arm comes in and kills everybody. Like, yeah, but that's kind of like one of the hilarious things about that show. Like, just for some reason, the police station just keeps getting raided. And then the other great thing about that, it's just a really entertaining, fun show in general. But one thing I really love about it, another thing I love, is Sean Pertwee's performance as Alfred. Because usually in Batman, Alfred is, a kind of like more effete, posh, wealthy, well-mannered style character.
But this
right?
is Guy Ritchie Alfred, right?
Yes, that's right. But gradually, little by little, Sean Pertwee has becoming more and more Guy Ritchie Alfred, until the point he literally made me almost piss myself when I was watching the episode I was watching this morning, because during the episode he catches he catches Ra's al Ghul by surprise, cold cocks him and knocks him out with like a right hook, and when Ra's al Ghul falls to the floor, Alfred stands over him and says, "You slag!" Just like, oh my god, he must be the first Alfred in history to say the words "you slag." But it's just brilliant. It's awesome. Yeah, so there you go. Gotham. I think Brack, you had mixed feelings about. You didn't like Gotham. You just flat out didn't like it, right?
No, I still haven't seen much of it. I've only seen a couple episodes of the first season. I was like, oh man, I'm not liking this at all. But what I've heard from people that are not you, that the later seasons get like completely bonkers. Like for other people who also disliked the first season, like me, there's like, oh yeah, it goes just completely nuts.
Oh yeah.
By like the third or fourth season, I was like, that sounded at least a lot more interesting. Like I'd rather have it go completely nuts than when it goes. Well, in the first season, it tried to be like that semi-realistic like stuff.
Yeah.
But it definitely wasn't working. But I've heard now it's just like completely insane.
Yeah, it's bonkers. It's off his fucking tits, which is hilarious. You never, like, you just don't know what you're gonna see episode to episode. It's crazy. And like the Avengers, that moment where in the first Avengers movie, they're talking about this alien army coming out of space, and in the back of your mind when you first watch the Avengers, you're always thinking, oh, they're going to close that portal before that army comes. But no, the army comes out and they get into that huge battle, right? Like, that was a genuine surprise when you watch that film, and it's like, oh yeah, shit, oh my god, they're actually like having it happen, because usually in movies you don't get to see that. Gotham's like the TV version of that. Like, no, that's not going to happen. They're definitely going to, oh shit, fuck. Damn. What just happened? It's got that same thing with the Avengers. Like this, you think that the heroes are obviously going to stop this plot, but no, it goes like OTT, like over the top. It just goes crazy. It does that several times as well, so that's not even a spoiler. It's amazing. If it looks like something crazy is going to happen, more than likely it probably is going to happen in that show. It's pretty good stuff. All right, what would be third and last on your list, Brack?
So, I finished God of War, which I loved, but I'm not going to go into depth this time around because I think Human Metal has also been playing it, so I think I will wait till he's back. But because of God of War, I was so into it. I really loved like the Norse mythology, world building and stuff. I actually loved it so much that I started listening to the audiobook Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman, which is like a retelling of like the entire Norse mythology in like a chronological order. And like I'm not sure if you're familiar with Neil Gaiman, but he's like a pretty.
Man, he must have been tough growing up in school with the surname of Gaiman.
Probably, I'm not sure. Are you familiar with him, with his writing, or?
Are you familiar with him? Am I familiar with Gaiman? I was young and confused once, Brack. I am pretty familiar with Gaiman. But carry on.
No, I literally asking if you're familiar with that writer or not.
No.
Okay, no, but he's a pretty famous, like British writer. Like he's worked with Sandman and like American Gods and Coraline and stuff. A lot of other stuff like that.
He's a pretty
And
famous gay man.
dude, like there's making a joke. And there's like just running a joke into the ground till it's like not funny anymore, and it was barely funny to begin with.
Oh, the choo-choo! Go on, you.
It's like, oh my god, that joke has been like, it's been running the ground so much, it must be sore.
Yeah. Well, I heard his books were pretty gay, but okay, let's stop. Okay, carry on, Brian.
But it's a really good like retelling of Norse mythology. It's really funny actually. The stories are really interesting because they almost completely stay true to like the original story, but he like adds some dialogue here and there, and he changes stuff around a little bit, and he like collects a lot of the stories as well, and then like he puts them together in like the chronological order, because like normally mythology, you know, it's just kind of impossible to find it in the right order, and especially because Norse mythology, unlike all the other forms of mythology, they have like an end date, right? There's like the Ragnarok in Norse mythology, like the end times, which is like a big deal there in their mythology, and so there is actually a chronological order, unlike the other mythologies, I guess. But yeah, it's really good. It's really interesting to listen to. Really good read, I think, and really have a really good time reading that as well. Especially after God of War, I was like, oh man, I love Norse mythology so much right now. I really need to read some shit like that, and I did, and this is a great. If you're a fan, you should go of God of War. If you finish God of War, which a lot of people have, I guess, yeah, you should go with this because you'll have a good time with it.
All right, yeah, I like Norse mythology. I like, well, actually that's not true. I like history, so I guess Norse mythology is history. So yeah, that sounds kind of an interesting thing. I think any type of like audiobook or book or anything where you can gain a sort of insight into history, I think that's fantastic, and you should definitely do that, because like for me, learning more about history and science and stuff is a real pleasure. Now I'm an adult. I used to hate it when I was a kid in school. It's weird how that works, isn't it? I used to like hate learning stuff when I was in school, but now I'm an adult. I love it. So there you go. Except if it's maths. I fucking hate maths.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you have next? What have you been playing, watching, or reading?
Last on my list is another game that features heavily in the desert. That would be Mad Max. So, like everybody else on the face of the planet with a PS4, I also bought God of War. However, I haven't started God of War. I installed it, deinstalled it at one point to reinstall Fortnite to play with Brack one time. I hate Fortnite, by the way. Just saying. Then
you hate it?
Yeah. Then
I thought you were the one who liked it so much.
No, I really changed my mind about that, Brack. I doubled back on that. I really don't like it. I like the format of it. It's just those fucking building mechanics. I know that's what makes it Fortnite. But like the building mechanics.
Then we don't have to play it anymore, because I was mostly playing because you liked it so much.
Yeah. No. I got a sniff of Trackmania, and that was much more fun.
Like we were playing Fortnite, and I was literally just at the moment, it's like, fuck this game, I don't like this game anymore, I never want to play it again. Until I had like a really amazing moment, right, where I just had like my one pistol, and I was like up against like two people, and I just got there at like a really awesome shootout, and like, oh man, I actually really like this game again. But after that, there's like, nope, that's like 1 minute of fun in like 2 hours of not having fun. I was like, no, this is not fun. Fuck this game.
Yeah.
So
the thing is, I think you and I crossed the threshold at exactly the same point. You were kind of had that minute where you were just like, oh yeah, that was good. Oh yeah, this might not be so bad. At that exact moment, I was just like, fuck this game. I don't want to play this anymore at that precise moment. And I was thinking that as it happened. It was like, hey, he's just like discovered that this game is fun, and I've just come to the conclusion that I never want to play this game again in my life.
Yeah, but I'm back to not wanting to play this game at all.
Oh, that's
like,
great.
yeah.
I'm done with Fortnite. Anyway, but I deleted Fortnite and have reinstalled God of War, ready to fire off on that. But the reason I haven't played God of War is because a conversation Brack and I had a little while ago, where we were talking about games, and Brack was saying to me that I play too many games too shallowly. I just basically dig into the surface of a game and don't get into the meat of it, and therefore I'm not really enjoying anything by spreading myself too thin.
I was like, you never finish games. You're like one of those people, and there are a lot of people like that. Like I think average, most people don't finish games. If you look at like the completion rate of games, it's like, oh my god, this is like a 4-hour game, and like half the people haven't finished it. And you were like one of those people who do that a lot, right? And
yeah, that's the thing though. Like, that's only been a recent development. I think mostly due to time constraints. I came off. I'm now in a period where I only have like a finite amount of time to play games. It's not that long per week, so I really had to pick and choose what I play. But I haven't been picking and choosing what I've played. I've just kind of kept up my same buying rate of like, my intake of games that I used to do when I had way more time, and now I just don't have time. So I agreed with you. So I thought at that time I was really enjoying Mad Max. It was the first game in a long time to actually properly grab my attention, so I decided to stick with Mad Max for the time being until I finished it, and just basically just ditch all other video games for the time being and just concentrate on Mad Max. So I've put shit tons of hours into Mad Max recently. I'm not joking. I don't know how much time I put into that, but I've put so much time into it. I love it. It's directly connected with the way that I want to play video games at the moment. So I play Mad Max very, very methodically. Like, generally speaking, if there's an area in the game that has like, watchtowers and what are they called, like scarecrows and sniper towers and camps and whatever, I will generally speaking go and attack all of those and just clear out the area before I move on. That means I've only opened up the first two areas of the game, Jeet and Gutgash, but I've completely cleared them of all threats. 100%ed, and I've basically only just got through the gates into the third area, which is right at the beginning of the game. If you're concentrating on the plot, you could do what I've done in about 2 hours of play. I think maybe a little bit more, maybe like 3 hours of play maximum. You could probably get to where I've got, but I've taken like, I don't know, 60 hours to get there, and basically speaking, I'm within the first 20% of the game, I think, and I've already max out his top stats. I've basically reached the top level of the game, and I'm not even like 10% way through the story, I think. That's how methodically I've been playing the game, but it's wonderful. I love the desert setting. It's great. For me, it's got that Red Dead Redemption type element where when I play it, I just disappear into that world. Like, I cease to be here in my living room and I'm there in the desert. One of my favorite memories from that game thus far is what I was doing this morning, actually, before I went to work, which was I had Dinky D, the dog, the mine-sweeping dog, in Chum Bucket's buggy, and we just went out into the wasteland and were searching for mines. I didn't know where they would be, so I was just kind of driving around, sort of setting waypoints, seeing if Dinky D caught the scent of minefields, and then he would catch the scent of minefields and I go and defuse them. But that buggy only has like limited gas or petrol or whatever, so I'd have to find a place. Fuel. I'd have to find a place to refuel my buggy and stuff, so that would mean like attacking like a scavenging point or something, and I got distracted by doing various things on the way. It was just one of those times where I was completely immersed. There was no fast travel or anything like that. It was just me in this buggy, on this kind of like adventure, not really knowing where I was going or what I was doing, except, the idea of minesweeping. It was just a great time. It reminded me of like, those moments when you're in Red Dead Redemption, you're like roping in horses and stuff. It's just so good. And I love that game. Gonna chase it down, gonna finish it. It's a really, really good time. I love it. How about you, Brad? You've been playing it recently?
Yeah, I've been playing it recently, and like, Like after hearing something not positive, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not that positive. I'm enjoying it okay. Like Mad Max is definitely a game that's like the whole is better than the sum of its parts, mostly because the sum of its parts are pretty terrible. Like the driving mechanics are pretty shady. You know what I mean? The fighting is like very derivative of other games, but definitely not as good as the other games. Like it's definitely like the Arkham combat, but definitely not as deep or as enjoyable. And it's also not as good like the Shadow of Mordor is also a lot better. Uh, the story is terrible, like pretty terrible. It's like not interesting at all. Like this is one of the few games where literally like skipping cutscenes, like literally skipping cutscenes because I'm just not interested at all. Like from story missions, right? Like the story missions, like I'm 10 seconds into like the cutscene, like nope. And I had to press the button because like it's just bad. You know what I mean? That's and it doesn't happen often. It happens very few times actually in my life. Like in this game, it happens very often, but in general, playing games, I almost never do that. Unless I'm replaying a game for like a second time or something, maybe then I'm doing that. But almost it's like I think this might be one of the only games where I actually do this because how bad the story is, how bad the dialogue is, and how uncinematic the cutscenes are. Where it's just like a static shot of like one dude talking, and it's like, oh man, this is not interesting and not fun at all. Yeah, after that, I'm not enjoying the camps as much as you are. Like, that's what I did from the first area. Like one of the first areas, I've cleared all the camps because I thought, oh, this is one of the best ways to earn scrap, especially because collecting scrap just is annoying. You know, I have to like go to like open another door or whatever, open another like crate to get some scrap, and go here, open another crate, and you always get like 4 scraps or some shit from it, like useless amount. Especially after you defeat some camps, you get way more scraps from just doing anything than you get from actually opening the scrap crate. So after a while, I just started ignoring the scrap crates because I was like, this is just a waste of time. And I got some enjoyment out of completing some of the camps. But I felt like a lot of this type of missions that you get, like a lot of the types of things you have to do in the games are not fun. There's the ones where you're like, oh, destroy this, destroy elf like tanks or some shit, like not like gas tanks. And it's like, oh, I go to the entire camp and I noticed, oh, I missed one gas tank. And I was like, where the fuck is that gas tank? I have to go all the way back through the entire camp to find the gas tank that I accidentally missed. And if I find it, even though sometimes I go back, it's like, wait, I still haven't found it. I have to go back all the way to like the end. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's right around the corner. And I missed it. So I really not enjoying those camps. Like now I'm actually only doing the camps where you have to defeat a certain amount of people or you have to like to defeat the top dog. I actually kind of enjoy those types of camps. But yeah, it's not, and the drive mechanics are definitely not that great. The main missions design can be really bad at times because some of the missions force you to have like use your car in very small environments. And it's like, and this is a type of driving where if you accidentally hit like the wrong corner or something, like the entire car flips like back side down and it's like back around or whatever, and then you're like, oh my god. And then you're just like, oh, the last 4 minutes that I did are just like, I have to start them over. Like some races, like you're forced to do some races throughout the main campaign, and they're like the drive mechanics are not good enough to support these types of missions. So yeah, that's my experience. It's more frustration, less enjoyment than you. I'm still enjoying it okay. Like I think I'm pretty far into the game, into the main campaign at least. And I will definitely finish that. Also, I really dislike the way this game uses upgrades, where it feels less like, oh, I'm upgrading, so I'm getting better, and I'm getting like more, feel more like a badass. It feels more like in the start of the games they put a lot of constraints and like roadblocks in your way, and the upgrades are taking away the roadblocks. And so instead of making me feel more powerful, it makes the game more feel like a normal game, like the gas you were talking about. Like in the beginning you have to collect gas, but after a while you unlock the upgrade in your camp that it just gives you gas every time you're inside the camp. So after that point I didn't have to deal with collecting gas anymore, but it doesn't feel like a cool upgrade. It feels like oh, this annoying thing was in the way, and they took away, and the upgrade is they took away the annoying thing instead of like making me feel like a badass. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying, but I just don't agree with you.
I know, because you're loving the game, so obviously you don't agree with me.
Yeah, you see, for me that game is genuinely one of my favorite experiences on the PlayStation 4. I mean, when we come to the Game of the Year uh, show, this is definitely going to be like first ballot choice for Game of the Year for me. I fucking love it. I can't tell you how much I love it. Like every time, I think the telling thing is every single time I play that game, when I put down the controller and it's time to stop, I wish I had more time to play it. That's the final, the nail in my appreciation for their game is that often when I'm playing, like for example, a good example is Uncharted 4. When I'm playing Uncharted 4, as good as it is at points, and for me I have really mixed feelings about that game, there are some times when I'm just like, when's this chapter going to end, and I'm looking at the clock and I'm thinking, for fuck's sake, come on, just get past this chapter and I can stop playing. Like, do you know what I mean?
See, I think it's turned around for me. Like, I think Mad Max will be the worst game that I finish probably like in the last couple of years. You know what I mean? Like because I will finish the game. I enjoying it enough that I'm like, I'm pretty far enough into it that I will finish the game. But I through the beginning I was definitely completely not enjoying it, like at all. Right? But because you were enjoying it so much, it's like, okay, maybe after like a little while I will start to enjoy it more in the game. I might actually really start enjoying it, like I did Assassin's Creed Origins, which also starts off really poorly, I think, for like the first hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and then after that I started to love it, right? And I feel it's like with Mad Max, okay, maybe the same thing will happen, and it got better. I started enjoying it more, but it never reached what I wish would like. I never started to love it or anything. I started to like, this is okay.
I also sort of disagree a little bit about the plot, because I haven't got that far into the actual story, but I really enjoy the scenes between Max and Griffer. Do you know the guy who gives you like your powers and stuff?
But so far, that's all he does. He's not like in story in any way.
But his conversations between him and Max are very nice. They have sort of like a cathartic kind of emotional element to them, and I've always really enjoyed that. And I enjoy the kind of like the silence of it, because just like Fury Road, in that situation, there's really not much to say, is there really, in that world, to be honest?
I definitely enjoy the silence because I'm skipping through most of the cutscenes because they're shit.
I disagree.
Like,
I for example, I really like Chum
I want to
Bucket.
say some things that I do like.
What's
There are some stuff that I do like. That's I do like the color scheme in it. Like there's like this one desert area. I'm not sure if you've been there yet. That's all the way to the right of the map, and there's like no outpost there or anything. It's like completely just desert. And they definitely took the color scheme of Fury Road for that section, where like the sand is almost like this really bright orange, like yellow orangey, and then you have like the sky, which like it's insanely vibrantly blue, where it's like super brightly blue, and it's like, oh man, this looks pretty cool. But then you go to some areas where it just looks like every time you go into a camp and it's like this muddy brown, and it's like this very rusted browny, and it's just like, oh man, this is not fun to look at. It's like, oh, this is just like a disgusting brown environment. And there's like some scenes where you have to go into dark sections, where you go inside somewhere, and then maybe it's my TV settings or whatever, but it's too dark, and it's like I'm barely seeing anything, and it's just like, this just looks shitty, and I'm walking into the wall because I'm not seeing enough. It's like, this is not good.
So Brack and I obviously have very diverging opinions about this. I think that visually the game is stunning, just top to bottom, and I love the camps, man. I love those moments when you're outside a camp and you're planning your assault strategy, and you're getting up somewhere high and using your sniper rifle to take out the camp's defenses, and if you get lucky you'll be able to take out Warcry inside the camp from a long distance with your sniper rifle. Oh, it's so awesome. Like those moments when you're planning your attack. I don't know if you did that, Bragg. If you haven't, I recommend it. It's hilarious.
I've done it, but you don't really need to plan your attack because the combat is so easy.
It's more fun if you do.
Right. Like, and the driving is pretty shitty, so I'm not really enjoying the driving sections either. Like, I think I enjoyed the driving sections more at times, and I definitely you're lucky. No, not lucky, but the driving section in the open world are definitely better than some of the ones during the main campaign where you have to you have to go in like an enclosed environment and use the current enclosed environment, which definitely doesn't work with how the controls work. You know what I mean?
I guess so.
And there are also sections where you just have to like follow a path really closely with your car, and it's just like these controls are too floaty and too like glidey and too much like GTA 4 to actually make this this work. Well, and I know you love the driving in GTA 4, and you're definitely in the minority there.
I was a master of that. I could win a lot of online races in GTA 4, so that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, but because the driving is shit, and everybody else was like, "Oh man, this driving is shit. Maybe I should play like an actual driving game." But and you were like, "Man, I'm so good at this driving because everybody else is shit at it." You're like, "Oh yeah."
That might have been the case, but I'll briefly round out the Mad Max discussion. Obviously, Brack and I feel very differently about this game, but by saying I so enjoyed the Mad Max game that I actually went back and watched all 4 of the Mad Max movies. And I'll briefly give you my breakdown on that, which is very surprising. Like, firstly, I enjoyed the first Mad Max movie like a lot. I thought that was really, really great. Not really, really great. It was just good. Actually, that's probably really, really great. It's probably too much, but it was a good movie, and I enjoyed it very much. The second one, which I think is the peak of the original franchise, or at least in popular opinion, I just it was all right. I like the first one more than the second one, which is a big surprise to me because I didn't expect that. And then the third one, Beyond Thunderdome, was absolutely shit. That was rubbish. That's like...
Oh yeah, Beyond Thunderdome is definitely the worst one for me as well. And I think at the moment, the only Mad Max that I actually will rewatch is Fury Road.
Yeah,
it's
Fury
definitely
Road
the best one.
Fury Road, yes, absolutely. Fury Road is like, massively superior to any of the others. Even though the first one I really enjoyed it, still the fourth one, Fury Road, is like vastly superior. I mean, it's not even equatable to the other 3 films. And like I say, but just to concentrate on Beyond Thunderdome, like when I say that film was bad, I mean it was like really bad, like seriously, like almost unbearably bad. Like there were multiple times in that film when I had to fight the urge to switch it off. Like I was like, I don't want to watch this. Come on, you must watch it. You got to finish it. No, I don't want to watch it. Come on, finish it.
That's my experience during Mad Max, the game. I mean,
yeah, that's pretty much mine. That's literally my experience with Uncharted 4. So we're on equal grounds there. It's like, come on, finish this chapter. No, just give up. Finish the chapter. No, switch off and play something more fun. Oh,
like I'm literally at the point in Mad Max where it's like, yeah, I put so much time into it that I have to finish it for myself. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh man, otherwise it feels like even more of a waste if I don't finish it now, because I put so much time into it already.
I can totally appreciate that, but I love that game. Excuse me. So with me officially choking out here, we're going to move out of the shallows and into the depths. Back to the depths. So today on the depths we're going to be talking about one of the more excuse me. Could you hear that on my microphone, by the way?
Yeah, something weird happened.
That was a fart.
It sounded like a fart. It was an actual fart.
It was an actual fart. That was a pant ripper.
Yeah.
That was a pant ripper.
Yeah. That was the loudest fart.
Damn.
Like if you put the flame next to that, then your entire house would be burned down right
See,
now.
my microphone's not anywhere near my ass. That's how badass that was. Okay.
Literally badass. Yes.
Welcome back to the Depths. So today on the Depths, we're actually going to be talking about one of the more popular movies of recent memory. That is Avengers: Infinity War. So we're going to throw out a spoiler alert straight off the bat, because we are going to be talking about some of the twists and turns in the film. So if you haven't seen the film, you should probably stop the podcast and go see that. However, at the back end of our conversation, we are going to be giving our rankings for the best the best Marvel movies, sorry, and the worst Marvel movies. So if you're interested in that type of thing, that should be fun. Hang about for that. So let's talk about Avengers: Infinity War. Brack, what did you think about that movie?
Oh, I really enjoyed it a shit ton. Like, it's just a really good time, right? It's just so much fun to sit there in the theater, and it's really paced well. It's really funny. It's the shit ton of action. They actually spend time on the bad guy played by Josh Brolin, who gives an amazing performance now, and he does a lot with how little he actually is given. You know what I mean? And you actually come to like see his point of view a little bit. Not agree with it, even though some people might agree with it, but those people are fucked up. But you can see his point of view at least, and that makes him one of the more interesting villains. And then he also had like a lot of amazing fight sequences, and they have some lesser, like they avoid, like the main fight sequences of the previous two Avengers movies are the ones where it's like they fight against like an army of like faceless dudes. You know what I mean? Like they fight against the Chitauri or little robot dudes, little robot Ultrons, right?
Yeah.
And here, that fight is there as well, but the main fight goes on the same time, which is against Thanos. It's like an actual, like a team against one extremely powerful dude fight, and it's just like a really badass fight, and like a lot of stuff is going on, and like there are even more badass fights at this, and they are really smart with how they do the character stuff as well, because there's so little time. They like completely like only give you the necessary stuff and necessary information, but also like they know how to give every small character, like give him like a moment. Like every mere character gets like a cool moment to make a joke or to do some cool action stuff. So we still know that it's not like one guy's show. It's definitely like a team event.
Yeah, I would pretty much agree with everything you said. It was really, really funny. I think they took definitely some notes from Thor Ragnarok, where it came to the comedy, because as serious as the stakes were and as serious as the movie was in parts, it always found time for great laughs. I mean, it was a genuinely funny film, one of the funniest Marvel movies, actually, I think, in my opinion. So I really appreciated that. I appreciated the higher stakes, and yes, I agree with you. Josh Brolin gave an excellent performance. It left me wondering at times, and I guess this speaks to how decent the special effects were, if Josh Brolin was actually in makeup or whether it was CG. Like, it genuinely had me pondering that at times. Like, I guess it was CG, but it was really well done, though. You know, you could actually catch the character's emotion, which I think usually when you have a CG bad guy, the emotion is very difficult to catch from them. You know, just look at fucking Steppenwolf from the Justice League. That's terrible. But here you have Thanos, who I think is a entirely CG creation. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure.
Maybe there's some like facial capture stuff going on, which I don't think there was in like the other one.
Yeah,
in like what's called the dude Steppenwolf, right? Where it's so here there actually was some they captured his face, and it looked like Josh Brolin with like weird shit on his face a lot of the time.
Yes, it did. It did look like Josh Brolin. It was obviously Josh Brolin, but I think it was still like, I still think it was, you know, CG with motion capture, but I think it was really well done. That's the point I'm trying to make. It was really, really well done, and you could properly catch his emotion. Yeah, great action. I would say that a little bit too much of the minor action for me, for my taste. Like, because it was a butt-numbingly long movie at the same time. It was exciting as fuck, and I loved it. I really did. I loved it. But one minor complaint about the film: it was too long. I think the army scene, the Attack of the Clones scene, where they have the Attack of the Clones, the Phantom Menace. Sorry, get my Star Wars films mixed up. Where they had the shield and they had the army come through the shield, was very reminiscent of like the Phantom Menace for me, and those sort of Chitauri guys running on four legs. I think that those action sequences had the kind of the stink of Age of Ultron to it, a little bit too much, and I think they could have trimmed that down a little and hit the more important character beats quicker if they had toned down a little bit of that extraneous, like battle detail. But that's a quibble in an otherwise great film. But yeah, good stuff. Yeah, just really, really great. So I guess we should talk about. That's the thing with this film, though. It's like there's so little to complain about that it's just like, yeah, it's good. It's just, yeah, it's great. There's yeah, there's not much to say. It was really good. So I guess we should talk about the main point of the film, which was its ending, I suppose, which leads us into what's going to happen next. What did you think about the ending, Brack?
Oh, I thought it was pretty risky, even though you realize, like, even while watching it, like, you realize, oh man, a lot of those, they're definitely not dead. You know what I mean? They're definitely going to come back, because it's like some of those characters are so big. Did we tell if we're going to give spoilers? I'm not sure if we did.
Yeah, we did. We that was the first thing we said. Spoilers!
Okay. Okay. Like when Black Panther disappears, it's like, oh yeah, there's no way that's going to be staying that way. Like, definitely Black Panther. It's like Black Panther 2 was in the works already, and like Black Panther 1 made like $1 billion. There's definitely not going to make, they're definitely making a Black Panther 2. So you knew immediately, like, oh yeah, Spider-Man as well. Yeah. But it was still pretty cool to see. And like, I think it was still like a movie where the bad guy wins, which definitely never happens.
Yeah.
Right? And some of the reaction, like, I think I never did get emotional, except for Spider-Man. I got a little emotional because the performance was delivered so well by the kid playing him, and so yeah, that's really, really worked. And my favorite thing was, like, when the screen turns black, right?
Yeah.
And there's like a guy like a few seats over, like, what the fuck, like, really loudly. Right? That was like the best moment of the movie in a way. Like, just seeing the reaction that other people had to something like this happening. You know what I mean? It was like, oh man, that's kind of fucking amazing.
That's awesome. Like, I had a kind of an experience like that, although not in the movie theater, after the fact, because I'm an English teacher, so I get to talk about all sorts of things with my students. And one of those things recently was the Avengers, and I was talking to a father who took his kid to see the Avengers, and they're both Marvel fans because of me, because I introduced them to the Marvel series, because they were watching how that happened. They were watching the crappy the Amazing Spider-Man movies, like, and I was like, no, you definitely don't want to watch those movies. You want to watch Homecoming, like, and get into the Marvel stuff. Stop watching the Amazing Spider-Man because they're naff. Like, and then I turned him onto the Winter Soldier. It's like, basically, watch this, watch Captain America 2, watch Civil War, introduce Spider-Man, take your son to see Spider-Man at the cinema. Like, that was my Spider-Man sort of strategy for him. And as soon as he watched Winter Soldier, he was just like sold. So so anyway, he took his son to see Infinity War, and I saw him after I'd seen Infinity War, and we were talking about it, and he was like saying, my son didn't like it. I was like, why not? He was really confused about what happened at the end. It's like, what happened? All the heroes died. I was like, well, yeah. And he was like genuinely shocked by that, as if he'd never seen any movie in the history of cinema where the bad guy wins. Like, well, what happened? You know what I mean? It's like, did they really die? Yes, they died. And it's like, oh my god. So apparently that really irked his son, who really wanted to see the good guys triumph. It was quite hilarious. But yeah, so, however, for me, like, I don't know, I would have loved to have seen it with a pure heart, but unfortunately the cynical side to me won out, and like I got fairly early that this was like the Empire Strikes Back. I knew going in that this kind of like, or I knew like at least partial way through the film that like, you know, I think Thanos is going to win here somehow, you know, definitely. Especially because I knew that it was going to be a two-parter, right? We're going to get the next part next year. So the cynical side won out. So I knew
that's kind of hilarious, right? Because the second part, like very early on, they announced that there was going to be a second part.
Yeah.
But then there was like this thing where like, oh yeah, we changed directions, and we because Spider-Man was added to the series, so we changed directions a bit, blah blah. So we're not going to have a second part like a Thanos Infinity War Part 2 anymore. Like that's off the table. We're going to make something else, right? That was like a big news event and everything like that. And so you missed that part probably where they said like, oh, we're not going to make Infinity War Part 2 anymore. It's like just one part, right?
All right.
Because of that, I thought, oh yeah, they changed that. So maybe they're going to have him be defeated in this movie. And you missed it, so you didn't expect it. You expect it to be a Part 2, even though a lot of other people didn't expect it anymore.
Oh yeah, see, I think there you go. So I missed the social media buzz because I'm in Japan and nobody gives a shit about that type of thing here. But so like, I basically went in sort of understanding that this is like the big bad Thanos, and there was going to be 2 of these films. At least that was my understanding. So it seemed like a no-brainer to me, you know, like that Thanos was going to win here, and like, but there was something about it that the movie carried no emotional heft. I like it because it had badass action. It was cool as fuck, and I liked it because it was really, really funny as well. It was funny, it was cool as fuck, it had some twists, and it had some surprises, so I really enjoyed that. However, like, I love Thor. Like, Thor is probably my favorite Avenger, and to that extent, Loki is also one of my favorite characters. So we've already sent out spoiler alerts here. So again, spoilers, people, don't blame me if you're still listening to this and you haven't seen the film. If you haven't seen the film, please stop listening now because I'm about to spoil something. All right, so Loki gets killed at the beginning of the film, right? And like, I love that character. I love Loki. I love the relationship he has with Thor. For some reason, I just didn't feel anything in the movie theater. I was just like, oh yeah, well that happened, you know, like, and I really felt like I should have felt something there, but I didn't feel anything. And then at the end of the film, when all the characters, you know, are evaporating because Thanos wins, like you said. Like, immediately, my thought was like, oh, well, there goes Black Panther. That's bullshit. He's coming back. Oh, there goes Spider-Man. He's coming back too. You know, I didn't, because of the transparency of, you know, the movie industry and stuff, I just didn't feel it. You know, I just didn't. Those characters aren't gone. You know, at all. Like you say, they're just not gone. They're coming back. And so that leads us on to the other. But however, quickly, backtracking a little bit, but that said, like I say, I thought it was an excellent film. That it didn't really need that kind of emotional payoff at the end, and maybe when I watch it in a different setting, I might actually get the emotion more from that. I don't know, but who knows about that. But in the theater, I just, you know, it's just these characters were dying, and just, you know, I was just completely steady, just like, oh yeah, okay, whatever, no biggie. So let's talk about what we think is going to happen and who we think is going to stay dead, if anyone. What do you think about that, Bragg? What would be your opinion about who is going to be staying dead?
I think Loki is definitely dead. Well, I think Loki is definitely gone.
Yeah.
He is coming back. Gamora probably also dead.
I think so too.
Never gonna come back. Who else?
Vision.
That Vision. Maybe not.
I think so.
Idris Elba is definitely gone as well.
Yeah. Basically, Thor. All the Thor people, just out.
Yeah, that's why. Like, I feel like the next movie might be more the emotional one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think
because
so too.
It's definitely going to be more the small parts, right? It's got like they like half the cast is gone. It's basically the main guys is still there.
Yeah.
Like the Thor, the everybody else, Captain America, Iron Man, and I think those three, Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man, those are the ones I can see dying.
Yes.
Like Captain America, Iron Man because he's just too expensive. Tony Stark is too expensive. Robert Downey Jr. is too hard, too expensive to pay anymore. And Captain America is also like probably wants to get out. And Thor, like, oh, what would you do with another Thor movie? Like his entire supporting cast of his movies are gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? Like Loki's gone, Idris Elba's gone. Like it's not that there's Natalie Portman is not coming back. Like in general. So
nobody gives a
like,
shit about Natalie Portman anyway.
No, I'm not saying I care about it. Like the other supporting guests from the first two movies are gone. In Ragnarok, they died there, right?
Yeah.
So, like, who would you team up a Thor with? Where would you set it? You would have to set it on. You can't set it in Asgard anymore because Asgard is gone. So there's a good chance that he dies in the next movie. Or Captain America, or Iron Man, or all three of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think... I don't know about Thor, because Thor is such a comedic anchor. He could be saved in some way. I think Tony Stark is in the most imminent danger. Just because he's had the most amount of exposure. Like you say, Thor's universe is basically gone, so Thor could also... is in danger. I think Captain America's the least likely to die of the three. But I think also, though, because of that, I think if Captain America dies, that's going to impact you harder than any of the others,
like,
I think.
But like, before the movie came out, people were like, oh, maybe Captain America, they were thinking Captain America or Iron Man would die, right?
Yeah.
Because they thought, actually, it was just like the only movie with Thanos in it, right? They didn't know there was like an Infinity War 2 coming out.
Yeah.
But you knew that was not going to happen because the movie was almost over, and you're like, oh yeah, Captain America and Iron Man haven't talked yet, right? They haven't like resolved their issues from the last few movies, and you knew that they had to do that before actually, like killing one of them off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Snuffing one of them. Yeah.
You can't snuff one of them when their story is still left open. So I knew that will happen in the next movie. Yeah. You definitely see Iron Man and Captain America interacting, and they like resolving their issue from Civil War.
Yes, I agree. Definitely, I agree. The next movie is going to be pretty intensely. I think should capture the emotion because definitely someone is going out. Maybe multiple people are going out in the next film and not coming back. So that's pretty hardcore. I would agree with you though. I think my opinion is that anybody who disappeared in Thanos' little
is safe.
Yeah, is safe. However, the characters who are killed naturally during combat during the film, a la Loki, Vision, Gamora, I think those characters are staying dead. We'll see, like when the next movie comes. Are you excited to see the next film?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like it had such a cliffhanger, and there's like so much to resolve there, and you're like, oh my god, I can't wait to see what happens next. What's gonna happen, like with these characters and with like Thanos himself, and in what way are they gonna resolve it? And I'm pretty looking forward to it.
Oh, one minor thing I'll say, a minor gripe about the film. No, basically speaking, no Captain America in this film. Man, he was really, he was just not there.
Like, it's kind of hilarious. Like, this movie has like stars that would like be the main character in like $120 million movie or some shit like that. And in this movie, they have like 5 lines. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the guy playing Captain America or Scarlett Johansson, who's like Black Widow, right? Black Widow. Like, I don't think she has like more than 3 lines in this entire movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's got more than Captain America. Though. I don't think Captain America even opens his mouth during the film.
But I think Captain America has more to do even than Black Widow, because at least he has like some cool action moments, right? Like when he catches that spear in the beginning of it, like when that was pretty badass. And there's this moment where he and Black Panther run out in front of the rest of the crew, like of the army, to fight those monsters. Like that was pretty cool as well.
I just the only thing I really remember from Captain America is that I guess the kind of the famous moment where he has hold of the guy's gauntlet. He has hold of Thanos' gauntlet, like, you know, and like he's using his brute strength against Thanos. I remember that moment where he's like, "Roar!" and Thanos is like, they're having like a test of power against each other. That was pretty cool. That's like the only thing I remember from Cap in that film. Like he's like basically like a mute Captain America. Captain America who's forgotten how to speak.
But there's like just no time almost.
Yeah,
There's no time for anybody to speak. Like there's so many characters, and like which maybe is better, right? It's better that they focus on a few characters than try to give every character like the equal amount of lines, right? Where they're like,
you'd be in the cinema for 5 hours if that happened. I mean, the fact is, like, it's kind of great and kind of bad at the same time. No, I don't know how they, like, as soon as the movie opens, it's bang, it's just off, it just goes. Do you know what I mean? It's straight into the action. There's no warm up. There's no, there's no foreplay. It's just bang, straight in there fucking you. Like straight from the off.
Yeah.
It doesn't even put on a rubber, goddammit.
Yeah, that big purple dick, yeah.
Well, yeah, if he took that out, he is bold like me, so I guess if you had a big enough pussy, you could literally just go straight up there. Anyway, so what was the number one best moment in that movie for you, Bragg?
Ooh, that's hard. Like, the comedic moment was everything between the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor. Right, when they meet each other and they're like the dialogue between those guys, that it's just like hilarious. Drax is hilarious in that sequence.
So long, morons.
Yeah, all that stuff was just really funny. And action wise, I really like the fight scene between like Iron Man and the other crew. That crew fighting Thanos himself. And like in general, these are all like existing characters. Like there are only a few new characters in this entire movie. And from the Thanos' children or whatever they call, I like Thanos' hype man. Like the creepy looking alien dude with the psychic powers, right? Who's like all the time talking about how cool Thanos is. They're like, "Oh man, you're so cool. You're so lucky to be able to be killed by Thanos," or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Like he's completely like his hype guy, like while Thanos is being silent. And I kind of like that character. He's like such a slimy, overconfident villain. But he was the only character who's like, "Oh man, I'm so happy to see him die." You know what I mean? They're like, yes, fuck that dude.
The guy's such a dick, yeah. Oh, also yes. Oh, yeah, Aliens got a shout out. Yeah, nice. Pretty much my favorite film of all time got a shout out in the Avengers. Very cool.
Remember that really old movie, Aliens?
Yeah, I remember that. I am old. I think my favorite moment actually was a comedic moment, which I think it was probably the funniest thing I've seen all year. It had me laughing so hard in the theater, like embarrassingly so. I was laughing like a good 2 minutes after it happened. And that's the scene. I don't even remember what Drax says, but it's a scene where Drax says something, and I don't remember what he says, but it's Tony Stark's reaction to Drax, where for possibly the first time, just Tony Stark doesn't have anything to say. He's just completely dumbfounded by what Drax has just said. It's just like, he can't think of a quip or anything. I just thought that was so funny. It split my sides, and I just couldn't stop laughing about it. That was hilarious. That's the funniest thing I've seen for a long time in a film. I think that was the highlight for me.
It's insane how much better the Guardians of the Galaxy are in this movie than they are in their own movie, like in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
Like I like them so much more here. And, I like the relationship between the characters more. I like the characters themselves more. I thought it was funnier. And I was like, this is kind of funny that it's like so much better than their own movie.
Yeah. Also, the base excitement of when the Guardians of the Galaxy first meet like Iron Man and Spider-Man and stuff. That's just awesome. That moment where they're all fighting each other. And they have that hilarious, confusing moment where they're kind of like asking each other, where's Thanos? Where's Thanos? You tell me where Thanos is. Wait, what? You know what I mean? That's awesome. Where they're all kind of like figuring out that they're both on the same side. That's just super fun. Yeah, so it's a great fun. So if you haven't seen Infinity War, go see it definitely. Let's face facts. Everybody who's listening to this, all 15 people, whatever it is these days, you've probably already seen Infinity War. So let's talk about rankings. Where do we rank Infinity War? In our top 5 or bottom 5, even if the movie's in our top 5 or bottom 5? So what do you think, Bragg? How are you feeling? Should we go for a top 5 or bottom 5 to kick off?
Maybe. Yeah, let's talk about the Thor movies last. So let's go top 5 first.
Alright, let's go top 5 first. It's always fun to complain about to complain about movies. So I guess we'll go from 5 to 1, alright? And we'll go like individually, you go, I go, like this. Alright, so what's number 5 on your list of top 5 best Marvel movies, Bragg?
I think it might actually be Infinity War itself. It's in my number 5, and I really liked it. It could go up or down, maybe with time or with how much I like the sequel, which probably will influence how much I like this one. But at the moment, it's number 5.
All right. Number 5 for me is Captain America: Civil War. So Civil War is a great film. Really enjoyed the battles between the Avengers, of course. The first one in the airport is a lot of stupid fun, has the fantastic first appearance by Spider-Man. Then it has emotional weight in the final battle between Captain America and Tony Stark. You know, you really feel like, oh my god, it's on now. I genuinely thought, when I saw that movie, Tony Stark was going to get killed. It fooled me. Like, just for a second, it fooled me into thinking Captain America was going to kill Iron Man. And that's awesome. So yeah, I love Civil War. Amazing film. How about number 4?
Number 4 for me at the moment, that it's Spider-Man: Homecoming. It's an excellent movie, of course. I love Spider-Man as a character, and it's just like the movie is really funny. I really like the introduction of the characters. I really like the high school element of this one, actually, and of course, the really cool bad guy. The Vulture is such a fun bad guy to see, especially like Michael Keaton in that role is amazing, and it's like a really cool surprise moment that I wasn't expecting while I was watching it. I was expecting something else to happen, but it was like you knew something was going to happen, but then it was just like Michael Keaton just opening the door. I think if you've seen the movie recently, you will remember what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but it's like
but just in case it's not clear, a spoiler alert for here, people. Spoiler alert for all Marvel movies.
Yeah, I was like, but there's this moment where he's gonna pick up his girlfriend, right, or like this date for like the high school dance or whatever it's called, and it was Michael Keaton, the Vulture, opening the door, and like. And just like not knowing he was Spider-Man, just as like the father of that character, and it's like such a surprise. It was really, really cool to see.
Yeah, badass. My number 4 would be Thor: Ragnarok. So actually, I'm a really huge Thor fan. Much bigger Thor fan than Brack. So I loved the original Thor. Not so much the sequel, to be fair, but the Thor Ragnarok was an excellent third installment. Just really, really funny. I mean, just flat out funny. Love Jeff Goldblum in the film. He just, every scene he was in, he was basically playing Jeff Goldblum, but every scene he was in, it was just hilarious. Also loved that fucking rock monster. He was the MVP, comedy MVP in that film. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope he made it out alive himself.
Yeah, damn, I'd like to see him. He should have his own Marvel movie. Him and Drax.
Okay, maybe that. I think he would be a good part of Guardians of the Galaxy, but making his own movie, I think that would be horrible.
Oh, come on. Him, Drax, Rocket, and that thing that has knives for hands. He's got knives for hands. That would be the best movie ever. Yeah, so it was just a straight up comedy, extremely funny, so funny in fact that my daughter and I have already started quoting that film to each other. The current quote or favour is, "I have been falling for half an hour." So yeah, just a great time. It just made me laugh to beat the band, parts of it anyway. Yeah, and also the action was really great and it was really solid. I mean, where else can you see the Hulk versus a giant fucking wolf on a rainbow bridge? Damn, Yeah, it was tons of fun.
But in Norse mythology, that wolf is Loki's son. But
What the fuck? He's gone human metal.
yeah, Norse mythology is freaky.
As is human metal. How about number 3, Brack?
Number 3 for me is Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. Definitely the first one. Like the first time I watched that movie, it was such a surprise. It was like I just had a smile on my face throughout the entire movie. It's just so entertaining, so funny. That's the last Marvel movie I've watched because I rewatched it recently. It's just such a fun, entertaining, hilarious movie, and I really like the characters. I really like the introduction to the characters, and just a solid time.
Yeah, I also like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a good movie, not quite good enough to make my top 5. Spoiler alert for my top 5. But I also, the thing is, like, when I first watched that movie, to be honest, it just bypassed me a little, and I had no idea why people loved it so much. However, after watching it multiple times, I love it now and get why it's so popular. So if I did say bad things about Guardians of the Galaxy in the past, I take them back because that movie's super fun. It's a super fun movie. So my number 3 is Avengers: Infinity War. I don't think I need to say much about it because I've already said everything there is to say about it in the depths. Just a great time. Improved upon the previous 2 Avenger movies. Like Brack says, every character kind of got their moment to shine. Is it perfect? No, it isn't. There are occasional faults with it, but that aside, you can forgive those faults because what's good is great, and it's just so much fun start to finish. And there's so much action. The pacing is so quick fire that it's impossible to get bored and impossible to take your eyes off that film. It's fantastic. All right, how about number 2, Brack?
Number 2 for me. See, I hate Thor more than you. I dislike him more than you, but I got Thor Ragnarok much higher than you have.
Wow.
Because I really, really love Thor Ragnarok. I've seen it a couple of times already, and there's like no fault in that movie. Like I have even more fun than I do with Guardians of the Galaxy. Like the movie is like hilarious. The action is amazing. The sound. It's the first time in a Marvel movie where I actually enjoy the soundtrack, and not I enjoy the score. I obviously enjoy the soundtrack of Guardians, but the score is bland, like all other Marvel movies have a bland score. But I really enjoy the score in Thor Ragnarok because it has like 80s synth to it, and it's just a real fun over the top movie with amazing action sequences and like hilarious dialogue.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
It's the most watchable Marvel movie. Like I can see myself rewatching this like a shit ton of times and like just putting it on the background, like as one of those movies where you just like every time you like have to do something and you want to watch something but you don't have time to actually focus on it. Like, oh yeah, let's put up Thor Ragnarok again because it's just such a fun time.
I would agree with that. I've watched it twice. I watched it. No. Yes. No, that is true. I've watched it twice. So far, both times on DVD. However, I'm planning to watch it a third time very soon because actually this is a really great thing for me. My daughter wasn't interested in Avengers or Marvel at all until the recent buzz of the recent Avengers movie, which is hit big in Japan too. So because of that, she's become interested in the Avengers. So I'm taking her through like a highlight tour of the Marvel films. I'm skipping a lot of the minor ones, but just hitting the major ones on the way to.
It would be awkward. It would be awkward to seeing Thor Ragnarok. It's like, oh, this is the first Thor movie.
Oh no. She's seen Thor 1 before.
Oh no, I was like talking about. I thought you said you were skipping the minor ones.
I am.
The bad ones.
I'm skipping the minor ones. I mean, I'm.
Yeah, that's why I expected you to skip Thor 1. But...
What? No, come on. Firstly, she doesn't need to watch Thor 1. She's already watched Thor. She's already watched the original kind of Phase 1 movies, and we watched Avengers, for example, just recently, and then we followed that up with Winter Soldier. And next on the list is like Civil War, and then although we did watch Doctor Strange just recently, because I wanted to rent Avengers 2, but Avengers 2 is all out because it's like fucking Avengers Mania here in Japan, so it's all out at the video shop, so I can't rent it. So, but anyway, next up is Avengers 2, then it's like Civil War, then Thor Ragnarok, just because it's fucking awesome. We need to stop there, and then, Infinity War, basically. So I'm hoping to take her to the cinema to see Infinity War before its run ends. So that's the point. Talking about Winter Soldier, number 2 on my list is Winter Soldier, Captain America Winter Soldier. It was, for the longest time, my favorite Marvel movie. I can't tell you how much Winter Soldier blew me away, like, when I saw it. Up until that point, the Marvel Universe was like, it was fun. A fun distraction. Like, do you know what I mean? Even the Avengers was great, but it still didn't have that, like, je ne sais quoi. Like, that X element that lifts a franchise. And then came Winter Soldier, and it fucking blew my mind. To this day, it is the DVD that I've rented more times than any other DVD, I think.
Yeah, you could just have bought it.
That's exactly what I was said. The last time I rented it, which was literally a couple of days ago, to show my daughter for the first time, I was saying to my wife, I've rented this so many times, I should have fucking bought this film. It's awesome. That film is brilliant. Like, I love the whole kind of Jason Bourne element
Spy
to
stuff.
it.
Yeah, I
It's
love
like
it too.
you almost forget you're watching a superhero movie until Captain America does something, that only a superhero can do. He's like, yeah, that's right. He's a superhero. He's an Avenger. But what really cracks that movie over the edge are the action scenes. To this day, I don't think they've been bettered. Even in Infinity War, they've not been bettered in a Marvel movie. Those combat scenes are just absolutely fucking fantastic, and the Winter Soldier is the MVP. He's like the fucking T-1000 of that movie. This is like the Marvel version of Terminator 2. You have this really strong hero, and you have this fucking badass, unstoppable villain. I love it, and I even love the personal connection that he has with Bucky, and the emotion that you get at the end, when like the Winter Soldier's like pounding on him, like, you're on my mission. I'm with you to the end. Like, that gets me, man. That's like right to the heart, and I love that film. Amazing action sequences, just badass, start to finish. Love it, love it, love it. Second favorite Marvel movie. Yeah. So I guess we should come on to number 1. Unless you have...
Oh yeah, we already talked about my number 1, which is Captain America Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah, all right. What do you think about Winter Soldier, Bragg? Damn.
Oh man, I love Winter Soldier. Like, oh man, it's just like an amazing like spy movie. Like you said a bit about the action sequences, these are like the best shot action sequences in the Marvel universe. You know what I mean? Like, you have like cool, solid fight sequences where it just feels like you feel like a badass for watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, you get energetic because like you see like Captain America like kicking ass, and you see that close hand-to-hand combat fight sequence between Winter Soldier and Captain America, like on the bridge. Like, that's my favorite sequence of that entire movie. It's like the bridge sequence.
Well, actually,
Like,
technically,
oh, man,
it's not on a bridge. It's in the street away from the bridge, right? Where they're fighting with a knife, and the guy digs into the van.
The entire like sequence that starts on that bridge is like pretty amazing. Like, and that's like such an awesome time, and like I really like that movie just so much because it just feels it's like super energetic. Amazing action sequences. It has probably like one of the better stories in the Marvel universe, and I really like Captain America. Like, I'm one of the people who actually really like the first Captain America movie as well. And I know some people are a little bit down on it. They're crazy Thor lovers for some reason, but like, I think the first Captain America is pretty great, and this is even better than that. And I really like the character development that happens for Cap during this movie. I liked all the elements with Hydra in it. And it just has like that 70s spy element to it, where it feels like you have like that outdated technology that Hydra works with at some parts. Like they had that like the Cold War elements into it. I mean, it's just like such an amazing like spy thriller. Even though I'm not a big fan of the final act, like I really don't like that some of the action that happens there. But everything before that is amazing. Like the elevator fight sequence is just awesome.
Yeah.
And I think you talk about. Man, just such a fun movie.
I disagree with the third act. I mean, hang on a minute. No, that's not true. At first, I did disagree with the first act of Captain America, just simply because, Marvel's thing with flying things and things falling out of the sky and stuff like that. Like it's pretty unoriginal. However, I think if any of the Marvel films earns its third place action sequence, its third act action sequence, it's Winter Soldier. So these days when I watch that movie, and I watch it way more than other films with pretty much the same climax, like Avengers 2 or whatever, like for me it's no longer a typical Marvel movie. When I watch that end sequence, the film's so good, like it ties into the plot exactly, and I think like that's properly earned. And that moment where where Captain America's standing on that catwalk facing Bucky, and he's like, don't make me do this, man. Don't make me do this, Bucky. And there's just like the badass, that kind of like, oh my god, it's on now. Like that's is fucking awesome. And that fight they have inside the helicarrier while Captain America's trying to get that chip in, I love it. And the way like he gets shot and still like bravely manages to get that chip in place, it's badass. And plus in the control room as well, that Quentin Tarantino-esque standoff where everybody's got their guns pulled on each other and then ends up like shooting each other. I love that stuff too.
Yeah, Captain America Winter Soldier was so good that for a little while it even made Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. worth watching.
Yeah, not sure about that. Actually, no, I like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's unfair. I liked the first season considerably.
No, I was not liking it until that point, until Winter Soldier, and then I liked it for a little while, and then it just went downhill again.
I think,
but like only, yeah.
I think I watched until Bill Paxton was killed, and then I gave up. But yeah.
Yeah. So you watched enough.
Yeah,
what's the best parts?
I think I did, yeah. But like you say, that the whole part with Winter Soldier is probably the most thrilling part about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Absolutely amazing film. And I think one of the best things I can say about Captain America, the Winter Soldier, is that before the Winter Soldier, I thought Captain America was fucking white bread. Like, had no interest in Captain America as a character. Came out of Captain America Winter Soldier, he was pretty much instantaneously my favorite Avenger. Like Thor had to like catch up with him significantly to overtake him again as my favorite Avenger. But for a while I was all about Cap. Like so badass. Alright, I guess that brings me on to my number one. We've already talked about that film too. This was also on Bragg's list. My number one by a very, very narrow margin is Spider-Man Homecoming. So I had zero expectation of Homecoming when I went to the cinema because I hated the Amazing Spider-Man series. I really did not like those films at all. And then Homecoming just blew me away. Everything Brack says is bang on point. Love the fact that Spider-Man's actually a teenager. 1 minute he's planning to save the world, and the next moment he's making like the Death Star. Lego Death Star in his bedroom with his friend. Like, it's amazing. And worrying about those teenage things like going to prom or kissing a girl or whatever, whilst having to deal with a bad guy. I love the minor stakes in the film. I say saving the world, that's not the case, is it? He's not saving the world. But he's defeating a relatively minor bad guy. But that minor bad guy is played absolutely awesomely by Michael Keaton. He's the fucking man in that film. The scene in the car, the conversation they have in the car on the way to Peter's dance is just one of the most electric moments in the Marvel franchise thus far. It's an absolute brilliant moment, like on your edge of your seats. Badass. It's fucking badass. Also, the final fight deserves mention. The final sequence where they're on top of that malfunctioning stealth plane, and the visuals of like almost like a carnival, right, with all the different colors sparkling over the stealth plane. That's a really visually arresting final battle between the Vulture and Spider-Man. Loved it. It's my favorite Marvel movie. Has fantastic action. Its heart's in the right place. It's funny as fuck. That's the one thing that Winter Soldier lacked. Winter Soldier was amazing, but it wasn't funny. But Spider-Man Homecoming is incredibly funny, and I just want to see more of that Spider-Man. Before then, I've always semi-liked Spider-Man, but not really love Spider-Man. Homecoming is the movie to properly change my mind about that, to make me think, oh, Spider-Man is fucking awesome. All right. Ooh, there you go. So let's get on to the more interesting list. Are you ready, Brack? Let's talk about our least favorite Marvel movies. In the same,
as like I call it, the Thor list. Yes.
We'll see about that, Brack. So let's start from 5. Yeah, starting from the best Marvel movie this time to the weakest one, counting down to the worst. All right.
All right.
What's number 5 on your list, Brack?
Oh, that's Thor 1.
Yeah. Fuck you. All right, let's hear it.
Let's hear it. This is definitely the best of the worst. Okay, it's so it's not horrible. Like this is the like I have to say, compliment them that like they definitely have like some weaker ones, but there are only a few that are really bad. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And those and like of those, I wouldn't even count Thor 1 to the ones that are really bad. No. I count Thor 1 as just the weakest of the enjoyable ones. Right? But yeah, Thor 1 is like one of those ones where it's like, oh yeah, I never have to rewatch this. I found it kind of bland and didn't really care for the character in this. I was like, oh man, Thor is kind of like an interesting character. He's very bland. Definitely because he tried to play like the Shakespeare. He tries to go for the Shakespearean performance almost, and it's like not working at all. Well, they definitely didn't know yet what to do with Thor, like they did with with Thor Ragnarok. Like some people think like Thor Ragnarok is like, oh yeah, that I can see that happening from the character where he was in Thor 1. But in Thor 1, he's such like a bland, straight, like milquetoast character. Like there's no comedy there yet.
What the fuck are you talking about? Yes, there is.
No, there's not. There's comedy around him, right?
No, there's comedy
he is not a funny
him
character. Like the only funny thing I can remember in that entire Thor movie, which included him, was him saying "another," and he throws the glass on the ground, and that's like the only funny part.
Come on, man. You can like. You tremble, mortals! I am the mighty Thor! And then immediately gets poked in the ass with the fucking syringe and drugged.
Yeah, that wasn't that funny. And it's still what hilarious. I said. It's like the jokes are around him. It's not that he's still he's like this self-serious, arrogant dude. He's completely different in Ragnarok. And stuff like that. He's completely different as a character. He's this self-serious, pretty arrogant dude, and the jokes are all around him and not from him. And he's just like a bland character. And I really didn't care about the side characters that much either. Like Kat Dennings, who's like the thick girl. She isn't that interesting or that funny. She's supposed to be the comic relief, right? Yeah. But she's not that funny. Like, and the new Thor ones, they don't need the comic relief because Thor itself is the comic relief in his own movies, but not in this one, where they felt like they needed the side character to be funny. I never felt anything for the relationship between Natalie Portman and Thor. Like that relationship never really worked. The only thing that really is good in that movie is Loki, and he's definitely a little bit better in some of the other movies.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree with you about Thor. I love the first Thor movie. I really, really like it. I've watched it multiple times. I think the directing is on point. I think the action scenes are very, very nicely done. I love the scene with the...
I barely remember any action sequences from Thor 1 because there's like so little there.
I love the battle with the steel, the Guardian guy in the small town where he's blowing up the 7-Eleven gas station and stuff. I love that action sequence. I didn't find that fight. But I didn't find that fight memorable at all. But the thing is, that's the underlying theme. I love it because of the emotion that ran behind it. Like, for me, Thor boils down to the core point of Thor and Loki. Their relationship just makes that movie sing, in my opinion. Like, that scene, when I think about Thor, the first thing I think about is the best scene in the movie by far, without question, which is where Loki is trying to goad Thor into attacking him at the end of the film, and then Thor is just like, I'm not going to fight you, Loki. And then Loki is saying cruel things to Thor. It's like, it's that woman on Earth that's turned you weak. Maybe I'll pay her a visit, like this, and also just basically trying to rile Thor up. But at the same point, while Loki's doing that, tears are coming from his eyes and rolling down his cheeks, because it's like breaking Loki's heart to do that. Just that moment, like, and then the fight that ensues between them is absolute fucking gold, and like that's kind of like the core, the heart of the film, and that extends to all scenes all the way across the film, including the scene with
I disagree with you.
With the steel.
I didn't feel any emotion, especially not from Chris Hemsworth in that movie. Like, at that point in time, I was like, oh man, I really not liking this Chris Hemsworth dude, like, at all. It took a while before I actually liked the actor, because he was in better movies. But when he was trying to be like the straight hero action dude, he wasn't really good at it. And I don't think that's the weaker parts in his movies, where he's trying to be like generic action guy, which I feel like in Thor he is.
Again, like much like the Mad Max game, which we discussed earlier, I think Brack and I are going to have to disagree on that. Brack obviously doesn't like the movie very much. I fucking love it. I think that before Captain America Winter Soldier, that was, including the Avengers, I like Thor, the first movie, better than the Avengers.
The first time I started liking Thor was in that short clip that they showed from like Thor Ragnarok, like what was Thor doing while Civil War was happening, and it's like, oh man, this is funny. I really like Thor all of a sudden. Like, that's the point I started liking Thor. But before that, I never really liked.
He was pretty funny in the Avengers. He was already playing his comedic beats.
He had a good funny moment in the Avengers. One good funny moment, and that's like the main kind of time I liked it. I really didn't like him in Avengers 2 either, even though definitely he was like he had the least to do in that entire movie.
Oh, well, the thing is, you were saying, like the Shakespeare thing about Thor 1, but he paid for that in the Avengers, didn't he? Where Tony Stark got the excellent quip off, Shakespeare in the park? Does your mother knoweth you weareth her drapes? That did pay off to a pretty funny line. Yeah, but the thing is, like, Thor 1, you were saying Shakespeare, but that Thor 1 was directed by Kenneth Branagh, who's obsessed with Shakespeare, so that's why it happened. But I think for that reason, he brought out the betrayal and the Shakespearean elements really well in Thor 1. I think Kenneth Branagh needs a fucking award for directing that film, because he did such a fucking good job of pulling that Shakespearean stuff out of that script. But there you go. We'll agree to disagree. But we won't.
Let's disagree. Let's disagree on that, because I like an award for that movie. Come on.
You definitely need some kind of awards. Excellent. So
that's insane.
I tell you. So something we won't disagree on is my 5th place, which is Captain America, the First Avenger. So
you just put it on there to piss me off, because I was putting Thor on there. You were thinking about something else. I was like, oh yeah. Oh, what should I put on there? And I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna put the one on there that I like.
No, that's unfair. I was considering something else. I was considering Ant-Man, but no, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, when I really think about it, is a little bit worse than Ant-Man. So yeah, Captain America: Winter Soldier, it's bad.
It's not bad.
No, wait.
It's great.
No, it's not. Props where props are due. Okay, the first half of Captain America: The First Avenger is pretty great. Like, seeing him in, as a thin, small guy who can get into the army or whatever, and then, going through the process of his training or whatever, and Tommy Lee Jones's doubts about him, and then finally becoming the beefed up Captain America, and dealing with his initial kind of feelings about that, and also when he first goes off on tour and is used as basically a poster boy and isn't useful at all. That's pretty awesome. That's great. Where it completely lost me is where he transitions properly into Captain America, because it's done with a Rocky style montage, and you just can't montage that much history of the character into a couple minutes. You know, you see the greatest hits of Captain America in basically a slideshow. And whilst I can appreciate, yes, they're building towards the Avengers and they need to get there real quick because the Avengers is coming like a steam train that you can't stop. Damn it, that character, he needed more time to develop, to become Captain America, to learn his trade, to properly invest you in the heroic things that he does. But the film just shunts you along so quickly that you can't take anything he does in. It's just a montage of, like, you know, Hydra laser shots and Captain America throwing his shield at stuff. You feel nothing. You don't. Can you remember a single action beat from that montage? I fucking can't, apart from when Bucky gets thrown from the fucking train, and I only really remember that because of Winter Soldier. You know, the point is, when I watched Winter Soldier, you know, and there was like, Bucky, and I was like, who? The first time I watched Winter Soldier.
Like what you were saying about that shitty movie Thor, right? Like the terrible, objectively terrible movie Thor.
Objectively, yeah, okay. Fucking asshole.
Universally agreed upon terrible movie Thor, yes. That movie. That emotion there was not there at all. But in Captain America, the first one, the first Avenger, that emotion is there. Like, I really felt the relationship between those two characters, and they definitely sold Steve Rogers there. Like, he was like the first sequence where he's like getting beat up by this bully, and he has like the response where he's like, I can do this all day, even though you know he can't. But yeah, he's trying to make himself bigger than he actually is. He's trying to stand up for what's right. That earnestness, which is something that definitely in that period of time was definitely not there. Every hero was like ironic or like edgy or whatever. He was like completely earnest, and I was like expecting that to not work at all, but it worked so well in that movie. You can totally see where that character is coming from. They definitely build up Steve Rogers a lot before he turns into Captain America, and that build up of the character of Steve Rogers himself worked extremely well. Like that sequence where the one guy throws a grenade and all the other men just jump away, but he jumps, like when he's like still tiny Steve Rogers, he jumps on top of the grenade to like sacrifice himself for the other characters, for all the other soldiers. Like that was a really like touching moment when I first watched that. It's like, oh man, this completely sells me on that character, which I had no interest in before watching it.
You see, I think I said it best when I talked about Winter Soldier. Before Winter Soldier, Captain America was fucking white bread. That's how I felt about the first Avenger. However,
but you love white bread. You just told me you liked Thor, and that's like the most white bread of white bread that ever bred.
Captain America is much more white bread than fucking Thor. But like, but however, to your credit, Bragg, I have watched Captain America: The First Avenger relatively recently with someone who's very naive, and they really hook, line, and sinker bought into the Captain America, you know, like hero story. And just like you, they were like, "Oh man, he's so nice!" Like, and that person's obvious emotional reaction sort of rubbed off on me a little bit. I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, I'm kind of enjoying this film a little bit more now." Like,
she maybe has better taste than you. That's possible.
She probably does have better taste than me. But also the conclusion with the Red Skull aboard the ship, their final battle, whatever, is just not. You see, I can't even remember a single fucking action beat from their fight. And for such a major villain to check out like so minorly is a crime as well. The Red Skull deserves a much bigger send off than what he got.
That fight sequence wasn't the most interesting, but what was great was the moment afterwards where Captain America is sacrificing himself by like crashing the plane into the ice, like that, and then he's like this final like on the line with what's the love interest. I'm not sure what the character's name is again.
Her name was Love Interest.
No, that wasn't her name.
Okay,
And
I lied. Her name is Love Interest Jones.
her name was Bland Jane Foster, right? That was the name, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So Brack agrees with me.
Becky
It was
Carter,
crap.
yes. Becky Carter was the character who was definitely way better than freaking Natalie Portman in that other movie. Who only remember that's because it's Natalie Portman. That's like the only reason there's any memory to that.
Well, her name
But
was her name was Jane Foster. I remember that much. But I don't disagree with you. Jane Foster was the weakest part of that film.
But Becky Carter, that relationship was a lot better in my opinion,
Yeah.
and I really liked the send-off when she and Cap are talking on the phone while he is like trying to heroically sacrifice himself, and he's and like talking about how she owes him a dance. It's like, oh man, this is very great stuff, very emotional, and I really enjoyed it.
It did pay off in Winter Soldier a bit. I have to say that, but yeah, I just don't agree. I think it's a weak film. However, to be honest, you know, like you were saying, I put this on the list to irk you. There might be some truth to that. I might well these days. I might well put Ant-Man and Doctor Strange slightly under Captain America: The Winter Soldier, but Captain America: The First Avenger. But I don't know. It's up in the wind. I'll have to watch it again to properly get down to that. But at the moment, yeah, it's probably in my worst to top 5. For a long time, I really disliked it. However, like I say, it's only just recently, in the last 2 months or something, that I watched Captain America: The First Avenger again and enjoyed it significantly more than I did the first time. So let's move on to number 4, because goddamn time's getting on. So Brack, what's number 4 on your list?
Number 4, what was number 4? I think it's Age of Ultron. Yes, Age of Ultron is number 4 on my list.
You see,
it's not even bad.
Wait, hang on, son. We can go together, because also my number 4 is also Age of Ultron. So damn.
I think the next 3 are gonna be exactly the same.
Yeah, they might well be. Let's check them out.
Like Age of Ultron, I think it's the first of the bad ones, but it's not even that bad.
No.
It's just kind of bland.
Yeah.
It has some funny lines. And it's like the best part of that movie is, by the way, is not even the action sequence. The best part is the sequence in the beginning.
Yep.
When they're like talking in the bar or whatever with each other. It's like, oh, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying these characters together. That's what works. These characters being in the same space together is the part that works in the movie, and everything else doesn't.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like you say, definitely, without question, the best scene by far is the party that the Avengers have, and then also the initial reveal of the bad guy. That's cool as fuck. You know, where Ultron first reveals himself and is doing that, you know, there are no strings on me now. That's creepy. And like the Avengers like unexpected alarm to this new character is pretty awesome. Like that's the best scene in the film, and it comes at the beginning. It's like, damn. There are also some other good things about that film. Let's face facts. The fight between Iron Man and the Hulk is fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun sequence.
That's the other highlight.
That's your truth. That's.
Carry on.
Yeah, that's one of the better parts. But like, they definitely have the worst end fight sequence, where it's like against those faceless robot dudes. It's like, oh, this is just kind of bland. I kind of like Hawkeye in this. Like, Hawkeye is one of the better characters in this movie. Yeah. And like, I barely forgot that Hawkeye isn't even in Infinity War. You know what I mean? But he's one of the better characters in this movie. But that's because Hawkeye is a character that's always a side character, and they know how to do a lot with very little with him. They start to make him the heart of that movie, and I kind of enjoy that part. But there's so much it's just there. It's just like, oh, this is just there. Like there's not even an emotion attached to me watching that some sequences. Like there's like just time goes by. Like I started watching the sequence, and then it finished, but nothing happened to me except that time moved on. And that's it. Like that's how I feel about a lot of Age of Ultron.
Yeah, I feel mostly about the same way when characters died in Infinity War, to be honest. But I agree with you. I mean, to be honest, like I forgot most of what happened in that film, to be honest. I mean, I remember like the cliff notes, but that's basically it. I mean, when you really think about it, what moments are there? I mean, I can imagine. I remember that party and the initial
Yeah.
reveal of Ultron, which is awesome. And I remember like the fight between the Hulk, and I remember kind of the end fight, just simply because
It was so much of it.
yeah, it was so fucking long. But the thing is, like, individually you can remember like many individual action beats from different films and stuff. Like that scene with the knife, where the Winter Soldier's like throwing that knife about and then digs it into the van and then drags it across the van and like opens up the van. Like you remember that action sequence because it's fucking badass. But like when you think about Age of Ultron, do you remember anything other than fucking Tony Stark repeatedly hitting the Hulk in the face with his his hammer fist? Like I don't
It's
remember
also the
anything.
movie where Iron Man became more of an asshole because like all the events in this movie is his fault.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
not only that, it was like the third movie, he was like, oh yeah, I've created all this Iron Army, all these Iron Men to help defend the world or whatever. And no, that's not a bad idea. I'm done with, creating these mechanical solutions for world peace or whatever. At the end of Iron Man 3, and then immediately in Avengers Ultron, he's like, "Oh man, I need to create a mechanical solution for world peace." It's like what are you fucking nuts?
You. This is where you notice the most, like way the most, where Iron Man's like character development is just circles, where it's like I'm an asshole. Oh, I learned to be less of an asshole. And next movie, I'm an asshole again. And then by the end of the movie, I learned to be less of an asshole. And that's the worst in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, definitely. It's like he goes 180 degrees like between films. But yeah, it's just a pretty bland film. I do like the one thing I do like about it. Well, there were a couple of things I like about it. Like I say, it's not bad. Do you know what I mean? There's enough entertainment there to justify its existence and occasional watch. But I like the rope-a-dope they pull in the film, where you become convinced through movie logic that Hawkeye is going to die.
And then Quicksilver dies. Yeah, that was
he
pretty
takes
funny.
his place. That was pretty good.
Wait, by the way, like I'm checking the IMDb page. I have it in front of me, and now that's how I remember that Quicksilver was in that movie. Otherwise, I wouldn't have remembered it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he was a pretty minor event in that movie, played by a pretty major actor. But I do like that rope-a-dope. I was like everybody who watched that movie. I was convinced that he's checking out. Hawkeye is the guy who's going to be sacrificed in this film, but he wasn't eventually. Pretty cool.
I have more emotional attachment to like my experience while watching it, like the surrounding experience, because I watched it while I was like living in Sweden and stuff, and went to see it with a lot of new friends I made there, than I have with the actual movie. Because like the only reason only good thing about this movie is that I feel young when I look it up on IMDb. It's like, oh, it's only 3 years ago. I thought it was like 8 years ago. This movie was much older than 3 years.
Damn. All right.
And I'm not even hating on it. I still think it's okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's okay too. Like, it's all right. I mean, James Spader is also pretty good as Ultron. He doesn't have much to do, but what he does have to do, he does, I think, pretty respectably well. Like, I love the scene where Ultron is trying to get away, and then suddenly Hulk jumps onto his escape ship, and James Spader's like, "Oh, come on!" That's pretty funny. But there you go. Just like that, there were little moments of entertainment sewn into the film. They just kind of make it all right. I mean, everybody gets bored during the final action sequence because who gives a fuck? But it's all right.
So, what's next on your list? Is it Guardians 2 or?
Well, actually, it's you. We were both. Number 4 was our same pick, Brack. So what's number 3?
Yeah, but I was thinking, do you have the same again? I got Iron Man 2 next.
Well, our sync is all fucked up because I have Iron Man 2, Brack. Damn.
I was even deciding still between one and another, but yeah, Iron Man 2 is definitely pretty weak.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's definitely pretty weak. It's also one of the I don't remember that much of. except that they really tried hard to set up Avengers in that one, like even more so than any other movie. Where it's like this is the first movie, the last movie before Avengers, I think, right?
Well, I don't. No. I think Captain America was the last one before Avengers because they tried so hard to set up Avengers and Captain America, or Captain America's inclusion in Avengers.
In that last sequence, you're right. Yeah, you're right. That's there's like this in the flash forward sequence. That's where they set up. But this one as well, because they introduce Samuel Jackson actually has a big part in this, which he didn't have in the last one because he was just like behind the scenes.
Scarlett Johansson
the credits
even more so.
Scarlett Johansson is in this as well.
It was the introduction of Black Widow. This one.
Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't. That's all I remember from it, actually.
Were there any positives that you can take away from that film, bro?
I actually found Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer pretty funny.
Yes, he's brilliant in that film.
Sam Rockwell is great.
It's Sam Rockwell.
But he's always great. Like, that's the only sequence I really like, is the sequence where he's like, where he's trying to sell like those guns to the military, and he's like having like an entire speech about each gun. It's like, I kind of like this montage because Sam Rockwell is so good.
Yeah, I agree with you. Sam Rockwell is gold. He's always gold in everything, pretty much. There is one standout in that film which I love, which is the racetrack action sequence. I love that sequence. That's a great action sequence where Whiplash comes out onto the track, and uses laser whips to cut the F1 cars in half, and then has that battle with Tony Stark. I really like that action sequence. That was brilliant. Like, I wish that was the last action sequence in the film, to be honest. But when I first watched that, I thought that was spectacular. Like, I think I was lazily watching it on TV. It was just on like a cable channel or something, and I was just watching it, and that action sequence just made me bolt upright. It was like, man, this is fucking badass, and it is badass. Think about what I'm saying. A dude with fucking laser whips slicing F1 cars in half. That's fucking awesome. And then the Tony Stark's chauffeur trying to like ram him into the wall or stuff. That's a genuinely awesome action sequence in an otherwise crappy film. And like, when you compare that to the last action sequence, which is basically a scrambled version of Age of Ultron, we have all these generic CGI fucking things, Tony Stark robots or whatever trying to kill Iron Man. It's like boring as fuck, but that action sequence is awesome.
I still can't understand that so many people are like, Iron Man 3 sucks, but they love Iron Man 2. It's like, what? What's going on in your mind? I can understand this. Like, I know multiple people who think Iron Man 3 is like one of the worst of the Marvel movies, and like they think that's the worst one and the worst Iron Man movie. It's like, what's going on in your brain? Because I don't understand it.
Yes, I do not understand that remotely. I mean, I know it's a controversial point, but I love Ben Kingsley's reveal in Iron Man 3.
Yes, me too.
I think
it's one of my favorite moments.
I think it's absolutely hilarious. I think he's fucking hysterically funny in that film. And I also, whilst there is that point where it's an Iron Man film, but Iron Man is very rarely Iron Man. But I like that about that film. It's like, it keeps you waiting, right? You know that Iron Man is going to be Iron Man at some point, but he's going through that adversity of he can't be Iron Man. He wants to be Iron Man, but he can't because of the circumstances or whatever. And I like that payoff finally when he can be a fucking badass or whatever. But I know that displeased a lot of people with Iron Man 3 who just really didn't like it, that they were watching an Iron Man movie, but basically throughout almost in the entirety of that film, Tony Stark was Tony Stark and not Iron Man. I liked it though. I really like Iron Man 3.
Me too. I really enjoyed that one as well. So that's why I'm so surprised, because like Iron Man 2 is so obviously much worse.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Okay. Let's talk about the next one. Let's talk about. Let's say it at the same time.
Okay. 3.
Guardians.
Okay, I was going to count down, but you already fucked it up. All right, Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
2.
Yeah.
There used to be a time where movies had problems with number threes, right? They always had problems like, oh, number three sucks. But within our list of the worst ones, it's all number two so far, right?
Yeah.
Avengers 2, Guardians 2, Iron Man 2. So yeah, but Guardians 2 is a movie, right?
Yes.
Like
it is that.
Like I'm not sure if it's a movie because all I remember is like a pretty decent playlist and that's it.
Yeah. Man, see, it's getting legit depressing now. Like, we've plummeted from like the top 5 Marvel movies into the bottom, and now like I think like Captain America was he's all right. Age of Ultron, it's all right. It's definitely got problems, but it's all right. Iron Man 2, it's got one or two great things about it. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is like, that's bad. I mean, it's legit bad. Sure, the only thing that makes it even remotely interesting is some of the comic beats in it. But the fact is, at the moment, while I'm saying that out loud, I can't remember a single fucking funny thing about that film.
Yeah, and I was so excited for this movie as well because it's like, oh, Kurt Russell is in this. Oh man, it's gonna be amazing. Like, who doesn't love Kurt Russell, right?
Everybody loves Kurt Russell.
Yes.
They should have knocked it out of the park, but instead they made him into a fucking planet, and it's just bad.
I kind of love that it's a planet, but I don't like the visual of it. It looks this kind of shitty. It looks like very much like fakey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
like the CGI on that planet. It looks like a fake planet. It looks like
No Man's Sky,
like a screensaver almost.
Yeah, it looks like No Man's Sky came to life and tried to eat you.
Yeah,
I love the idea of it. The idea of Kurt, I've forgotten his name. Fucking, God damn it.
Russell.
Kurt Russell. Yes, for some reason I couldn't get the image of Kurt Cobain out of my mind for a few seconds. But Kurt Russell as a planet, who doesn't love that? It's amazing. It sounds amazing on paper. And I think that OTT was probably what they were going for, but somehow they just could not pull it off, and it was just bland and just bad. The CG was bad, the emotion was bad, the pacing was bad, the action was bad. It just think about that. You have Kurt Russell, an amazing OTT 80s cheesy actor, brilliant, everybody loves him, as a planet that wants to kill people. And they somehow go make that bland. Like, they fucked up. They just did not get that right. It's just terrible. And it's just a very unmemorable movie. It's too long.
I just remembered the funny moment. I kind of liked Michael Rooker. Michael Rooker was pretty funny in that movie.
Michael Rooker.
Yeah. There's this like I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. I'm Mary Poppins. I was like, oh yeah, that's the funny moment that I remember from that movie.
See, I don't even remember that, Brack. I have no idea what you're talking about. I've only watched the movie once, but I did get the impression I don't ever want to see it again, though. But if you like that, like definitely you got more enjoyment out of it than me. Like, that's definitely what stuck with me.
Like the main thing that stuck that I think about with Guardians 2 is that a lot of the times when we're talking about movies in 2017, it's like, oh man, 2017 was such a great movie year for superhero movies. It was like, because we had Wonder Woman, and there was Spider-Man, and there was Logan, and like every single time when I had a discussion with people, I forgot Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out. Like every single time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I basically remember nothing from that movie now, apart from the fact that it just wasn't good. I mean, but the main fault, which I'll quickly touch on now, was that I think that maybe 2/3 of the movie were passable, just about passable, or kind of like just hanging on in there, and the final third, the final act, the third act was just bad. I mean, so bad, it just sunk the entire ship. Yeah, and I really felt with that movie more than any other Marvel movie, even more than the worst one, which we'll talk about next. But like, I just felt that was really overly long. Like, it just dragged and dragged and dragged, and by the end it was just like, fucking hell, please, like, this, just end this fucking thing. Like, please, just wrap it up.
All right,
bad film.
Let's wrap it up by talking about the actual worst Marvel movie.
Okay, yes. So I also strongly suspect that Brack and I are on the same page.
Yeah, I think you have the same one.
Yeah.
I think it's your boy. This is the movie about your boy right here.
My boy. I don't have a boy. I've got two
your
girls.
Boy Thor.
Ah, my boy.
Your boy Thor.
My baby boy Thor. Who? Let's face it. On his first try, yeah, he did a good job. Brack doesn't think so. I think he did. On his third one, he did an excellent job. Oh, well done, Thor.
Definitely.
On his second one, and you fucking asshole, you burnt the house down.
Oh man, Thor 2 is terrible.
It is bad. All right.
Like, oh man, I watched it in the movie theater. Like, oh man, please let this movie end. Please let this movie end. It's like my feeling throughout watching. It's like, oh man, I hope this movie ends pretty quickly because this is pretty terrible. And like, I didn't enjoy any of the characters' stuff in this. Like, oh man, it's just bad. Like, it's probably the worst bad guy they have had in any of the Marvel movies, easily.
Malekith.
Like, yes. How do you know that name?
Because I'm a huge Thor fan. That's how I know that name. Like I say, I'm a big Thor fan. I love Thor.
So you're checking Wikipedia right now. Just be honest with me.
No, I'm not. I don't know how to do that, Brack. You know that's true. Technophobe that I am. But yeah. So, again, we've already established I'm a huge Thor fan. I love Thor. There is no excuse in the Dark World, though. That is a bad film. Sadly, no, wait, that's not true. Actually, I own the Avengers too. But I was going to say, like, Thor Dark World. Apart from the Avengers, Thor Dark World is the only like Blu-ray that I own of the Marvel franchise. And the thing is, like, I came off the back of Thor 1 and loved Thor so much, and I loved Thor and Loki's partnership in the Avengers too. So what could go wrong in Thor 2? So it came out, like, I didn't manage to catch it in the movie theater. Came out on Blu-ray. It's like, fuck, I'm just gonna straight up order that because it's gonna be awesome. Love Thor, and like watched it and immediately, like, Arrested Development style, it was like, I've made a huge mistake. Yeah, that's legit bad. Everything is bad about that film. The action scenes are bad, unmemorable. The character stuff between Loki and Thor, it doesn't work. Like, even, like, I love Loki and Thor, but even when they're stuck together as a team, good guy, bad guy, stuck together as a team, it just didn't work. It was bland. It just, yeah. And then when Loki, in quotes, got killed, I felt nothing. And it was really badly directed. And some of the scenes, like when Loki's in his cell, this is one scene that really sticks out to me as just being fucking awful. There's a scene where Loki's in his cell, and then Thor comes down and talks to Loki about and gives him the news that his mother's been killed, and Loki gets like angry and like sends all the furniture smashing against the wall. That is such a terrible scene because it's just directed wrong. The emotions don't hit home. It feels really contrived and like rushed over, and the CG of the furniture actually smashing against the wall is really fucking bad. Like, it's just like, I just thought that should be a moment that should have the power of their relationship like rolled into it. Do you know what I mean? You should actually feel like genuinely like Loki's like pissed off, but instead it's just like yeah. And then some like crappy CG thing happens and it's just like, that's bad. And then when Thor dies, in Thor's arms, you should feel something, but it's just like it's just really badly directed, really flatly acted, and that's a real crying shame to say about like Tom Hiddleston and I want to say Sam Fisher.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth. I want to say Sam Fisher, but that's the dude from fucking the video game series, isn't it?
Yes.
Who is that? What
No,
video? Splinter Cell, that's the one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why I've got Splinter Cell and Thor mixed up here, but
No, but Thor's bad. Thor 2 is bad.
yeah,
for sure.
this is bad. It's very lit. Okay, the final action sequence in that film is a little fun with all the gravity, you know, switching between realms, but yeah, even that it's not going to save it. It's just nothing really you can say about that film that's going to save it. The biggest crime of that film is that they wasted Christopher Eccleston, who's a fucking badass. Like
I know he's a good actor, but he's horrible in this.
Yeah, he's terrible. But then again, what can you do? He's basically dressed as an elf, having to speak in a completely made-up language. What the fuck is he supposed to do? Do you know what I mean? You have like one of the most menacing-looking actors in the history of cinema, who can basically just be menacing in anything he's ever in, and then you do that to him. Like, oh, like what do they expect? I mean, they chose the right actor, but they totally fucked him with his role. So, yeah, it's sad that has to be Christopher Eccleston's only and kind of lasting memory in the Marvel franchise. So, yeah, terrible. It's the same with Kurt Russell. Look how they fucked Kurt Russell. That's his legacy in the Marvel universe. Damn, Kurt Russell, you got boned.
There is a chance for Kurt Russell to return actually, because the Miss Marvel, whatever, the Captain Marvel movie is going to be set in the past. So there's a chance that he will turn up in that movie.
Maybe,
but I doubt it. I know that the guy who plays the bad guy in the first Guardians. What's his name? Also, not a terrible, interesting.
Ronan
villain.
the Accuser. I don't know his name.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yes. That character and that actor are also going to be in the Captain Marvel movie as like a small part. So there's a chance for Kurt Russell still.
I hope they make him way more interesting than he was in the original Guardians of the Galaxy. Because whilst the original Guardians of the Galaxy was a great film, like, I think the universal criticism was that the bad guy was shit.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, apart from that one scene where he kills that guy with the hammer and his blood.
Yeah, that was pretty badass. He had a cool introduction. That's like the only good part about his character in that movie. But he had a cool introduction and nothing else.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So there you go. That is our list for the best and worst of the Marvel movies, plus our.
That's our list for the best and worst Thor movies. Yes.
It's hilarious. That is literally true, Brack. It's literally true.
It's the only movie franchise that's been in my entire list of top 5 and bottom 5. All the Thor movies are in there.
Wow, jeez. Unfortunately, I couldn't quite feature like Thor on my top 5, but it's there in spirit at the very least. But if you disagree with us about the Marvel movies, please sound off in the comment section. And please join us next time you realise that because half the Avengers died, your chance of getting with Black Widow just went up significantly. We did definitely fly past our 2-hour mark there, Bragg, but it was a good show.
Yeah, it's all the Thor talk, right?
Yeah.
All that Thor talk. Let's join us on the next podcast called Thor Talk. And we're just going to be talking about Thor. Yeah, for 10 episodes.
That's a goddamn true story.